Welcome to Boxing Fans Talk TV. I'm your host, TDT. You can refer to me as Miss T. Y'all saw the thumbnail? Disastrous. Talking about these empty suits and turns Crawford fight. Not beating a dead horse, but hey, I gotta say a couple of extra things. Anyway, y'all know the drill. Before we get into that, let's turn to welcome back. Welcome back. Boxing Fans Talk TV. I'm your host, TDT. So you guys saw the thumbnail, but you know at the top of my hour, I always do a water check. And I always advocate for the importance of drinking water. Here at Boxing Fans Talk TV, we advocate that everybody, especially when it's this damn hot around the country, drink 100 ounces of water. If you're not a big water drinker, we say 2 times a day you need to drink water. First thing in the morning, before them toes hit the ground, or you get your hygiene routine on, drink you 8-ounce glass of water. Have it on the nightstand. You know, I always suggest people buy them a little fridge, put in their room. It's not gonna break your electric bill like you think. I thought it would. You know, I don't like buying paying no big electric bills. That's one thing I don't like to do. But I noticed that it didn't do much to me. They come in all kinds of sizes. I got one that's waist high. Keep all my water in there. It's nice and cold. That way I ain't got to go down to the kitchen at night or first thing in the morning. Because you know you get down there to the kitchen, you be like, well, while I'm here, I might as well go whip this up. So I drank my 8 ounces. Your body, if you think of it, it's like an engine, a lot of moving parts. The water is the lube. You need to go ahead and get it moving and get the water to doing what it do best, which is flushing stuff out. The second time is at night before you lay down for your final rest for the night. Not looking at TV, not doing nothing else, but going to sleep for the night. That's where the magic happens. The American Heart Association recommends that people drink 8-ounce glass of water before they go to bed, before they go to sleep. Now that's the American Heart Association, and I have to agree with them. A lot of things going on, a lot of reads going on at night when you sleep. Your body is revamping, recharging, rebooting, and you cleaning out toxins. Plus, a fun fact: the average person burns between 900 to 1,000 calories when they sleep. Hell, you get less than that in a workout. You know what I'm saying? In a regular workout, and I mean a good little workout, the average person burns about 150 calories. If anybody was wondering, I know it sounds crazy and it's low, but it's about 150 calories. And the people who go balls to wall, they be doing 300, maybe 400 calories. But if you sleeping 900 to 1,000 calories, so and you want to get yourself ready for the first day in the morning, because you know what everybody do when they first get up. One of the first call of duties that everybody got to adhere to when they get up. The water at drinking that water at night is gonna help everything move, get the moving to where they need to be. So always drink your water. Shoot for 100 ounces. Any grown person should be able to drink a gallon of water a day. It doesn't matter your size. You know, I say that I would say that for teenagers too, but we're gonna stick with adults. If you 18 and up, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to drink um, a gallon a day, which is 128 ounces. But you know, it's kind of boring to drink water. I'll admit, but you gotta start the process, get it going. So shoot for 100 at least. You're gonna see a difference in your life. But anyway, that's the water check. We're gonna do a little housekeeping. Please, in my humblest voice, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. If you've already subscribed, you locked in. But do hit the like and share button. If you're watching me on replay, you know, you can share it. Make sure you hit the like button and make sure you leave a comment. I read everything. I am open minded. I take everything into consideration. But after all, I am TT. So, but lean on my leezy when you step into my heezy. And it basically saying, hit the like button when you step in my square circle. Anywho, let's get to the business at hand. And no, I'm not redoing yesterday's show. It was a fun show. All the guys, let me send a shout out to you. The Black Picasso, E Thriller, the Black Picasso, General Big Fish, D Young, ATL, Birdman, and everybody in the chat, and Jerry. Love all of you guys. We had a nice show yesterday. But I say, you know what? I left some stuff on the table. You know, I forgot to say this, and I forgot to say that. Before I get into what I forgot to say or how I break it down, because guess what? After all, if we have conversations like that again, no matter what they may be about, I'm gonna come to the same conclusions. I said, oh man, I want people to see where I get my thoughts from. So, and then I'm gonna just walk around with it on my mind. So, you know, I gotta get it off my chest. Now, I be thinking that I sound like this. Sorry, this is not my content, educational purposes. This is what I be thinking I sound like. But really, I be sounding like this.
Folks. I'm not sure, sir. Why? Voice commands. We will learn to use our voices with authority, won't we, Hooks?
Never thought I would refer to myself as Hooks. That probably went over some of y'all head. You know, with the climate being what it is today in this country and how people feel about police and that police brutality, it kind of ruined that series. That was one of my funniest, favorite franchise movies ever. Like Police Academy was crazy. It was hilarious. But I don't even know where that movie plays or how funny would it be in today's climate. Yeah, I just thought about that. Because nobody looks at policemen like that. They can't even see the humor in policemen. Not nowadays. Now, first off, I just want to recap and update. And first off, I went back and looked up the numbers for the Canelo and Plant fight, and I saw 800K. So those of you who said that fight did 800K, I saw more reports that said that than other numbers. I stand corrected. And I didn't pull those other numbers out of my butt. I mean, is what I saw back then. But if you go look it up today, all you're gonna see from place to place to place is 800K. So I stand corrected. Full stop. Shout out to all of you who said it was 800K. See, was wrong. Now, but keep in mind, Plant never had a pay per view. Never. He never had a pay per view. No metrics as a guy. And he got 10 million for that fight. So what was they basing it on? I don't know. So I took 800K. I used the numbers that were given. Another thing I want to let y'all know, I'm not a mathematician. It's not my favorite subject. I took the numbers that were given, that when I go to look it up on Google, that's what I saw. Okay? Some of y'all are better mathematicians than me. So if you see an infraction, just let me know. Be sweet about it. I'm just joking. Say what you say. So 800K times 79, because that's what they said the fight cost, $79. Came up to a total of 63,200,000. That's 63,200,000. Again, if you have different numbers, you'll get a different result. But that's what I got. Numbers that I saw. Then I say, because prevailing wisdom tells me, and it tells, we've talked about this before, that whatever the pay-per-view numbers bring in, half of that is going back to the people who put it up. Like, that was a PBC fight. So half of that money is going back to Al off the rip. Before anything else, half of that pay-per-view total going back to Al. So I took 63,200,000 and I divided it by 2. And I came up with 31,600,000. So as I say, 31,600,000 back to the promoter. He got half. And it's for the other 31,600,000. If I say 31,000, excuse me. The other 31,600,000 was to be split between Canelo and Plant. Now, the split as far as pay-per-view, Canelo has 60%, Plant had 40%. Now, out of the 31,200,000 that was left over that Canelo and Plant are to split 60-40, Canelo got 18,960,000. Plant got 12,640,000. Now we know that Canelo got a guarantee of 40 million. So you must add the 40 million with 18,960,000. Plant got 10 million. So you must add that with the 12,640,000. Wait a minute. Before I keep going, I hope I saluted Extraordinary. Oh, if I didn't, I'm sorry. Salute Miss T. Salute to you too, King. Jerry in the building. I said there rounds in the house. Watch your mouth. Move down south without a doubt. All right, Jerry. Breaking down these numbers. Jerry, let me say it specifically for you, Jerry. I went back and looked up some of the stuff we was talking about, and I saw mostly everywhere that Canelo drew in 800,000 for the Caleb Plant fight. I stand corrected. If you ain't get to hear me say it, I'm telling you personally. You know, Miss T will always come in and correct herself if she's wrong. Woman enough to do it. I stand corrected. So I'm breaking down these numbers, Jerry. I know since you're here, I'm going to go back through them real quick. Everybody else, bear with me because Jerry going to have something to say for this one. Hold on. So, Jerry, if it was 800K, the fight cost $79. The total that they made in pay-per-view is 63,200,000. I took 63,200,000 divided by 2. I came up with 31,600,000. And that is Half of that went back to Al. The other half is to be split between Caleb and Canelo, and they had a 60-40 pay-per-view. And so out of that 31,600,000, Canelo got 18,960,000. Plant got 12,640,000. Now they got guarantees. So 40 million guaranteed for Canelo. When you add that with 18,960,000, it comes up to a grand total of 58,960,000. And Caleb Plant, when you add up his guarantee, which was 10 million, to his 12,640,000 pay-per-view split, comes up to a grand total of 22,640,000. And those were the numbers. That's pay-per-view. So what other numbers hanging out there? Oh, the gate. Let's not forget the gate. You know what I'm saying? Jerry said math are wrong. Promoters do not operate on 50% profit margin, or like a third on big earner will even take less than 20%. Jerry, we sat here and had a conversation before. However y'all want to do the numbers, y'all following along with me. We have had a conversation before. You said when the pay-per-view numbers come in, half of that is gone. That's being taken off the top. That's what I mean by half. I ain't talking about 50% working off like that, just in that regards. I'm saying the pay-per-view numbers come in. Who gets a cut of those pay-per-view numbers? Y'all, you guys, I've heard you say it, other folks said it, and I was always under the belief that half of the fucking pay-per-view numbers tally comes off the top and go back to whoever them investors were. They gonna split all that shit. They gonna deal with all that. But the other half is going to be split between the two fighters. You just said something like this before, Jerry. But you guys can do the math however you want. This is what I'm saying. Tay is in the building. You don't got StreamYard anymore. Yeah, I do. I still got StreamYard. What I'm working on. What's up? He said not half, not usually, more like a third. Okay, Jerry. How you said? A third. You know where I'm going with this, Jerry. I heard. Jerry, you funny. I heard y'all say half of it's gone. Yeah, okay, Jerry. You know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going. Even if you want to say a third, Jerry, it still ain't gonna stop what I'm about to say. So in the end, when you look at the tally 60-40 split, what they brought home, Canelo got paid 58. If you're looking at it from how I just did the model, Canelo brought home about 58,960,000, and Caleb Plant made about 22,640,000. If we're doing it like Jerry suggests, then it's probably going to be a little more than that. They said I predicted this told y'all they was going to lowball Bud, and say Bud is ducking. Salute Queen. WJ Luckett is in the building. What's poppin', King? Salute Queen T. I'm here for it. Dr. Mundo, you never heard me say that, Jared. Okay, Jared. Oh, sorry. Jared, you ain't gonna get me off my square. Let me cook. Tay saying, but Bud should just take the deals and best Spence as I'm tired of Earl sexual. That's what a lot of people call him for. She said Plant made 22 million. Okay, yeah, Jerry, you can all you want. But if you're looking at what the math that I'm saying, that's the number I've come up with. You want to say it's a third. You know, a lot of people say half of that. If anybody disagree, let me know in the chat. Most people that I've heard, every channel I've been to, even in conversation with me, Jerry, and other folks, I've heard you guys say, and I've always, not just what you guys say, I was always under the belief. Half of, and I think I had a conversation with E. Young. He was here that time. When we were all talking about, and Jerry, you was part of that. What happens when the pay-per-view numbers? And y'all was like, oh, half goes off the top. But I believe that anyway. All of us was in agreement with that. But now you change it, moving the goalpost, Jared. That would it seem like to me. I know I've heard you say half of it goes back to the promoter. The whole pay per view. It ain't like the pay per view comes in, and if it's 63 million, and they say, okay, Canelo, you get 60% of that, and Plant, you get 40% of 63 million. No, half of that money going back to somebody. Plant made 10 mil for his regular purse, but they can't give Bud 10. Okay. Yeah, okay, Tay. How can PVC be so for black people yet don't want to bring out a bag for Spence? That's the question. See, Jerry, somebody else can ask that question. I never said that. You did not hear that from me. I know better. Okay. I'll just have to maybe do some homework. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think I know what show it was. I have to find that show, flip it or whatever, show it in my show. That time we all were having a conversation. Everybody was in agreement how that shit worked. It's all good. I'm telling you, this is how I believed it anyway. Like that. So let me come on, Jerry. Stop the train. So just a recap, 63 million is what they brought in. If it was 800K that bought the fight and the fight was sold at $79, approximately, not exact numbers, 63,200,000 was made total. The gate stated to made 18 between 18 and 20. I'm gonna go with the highest number. So if you take 20 million and you add it with 63,200,000, come up with $83,200,000. That's what you come up with. Now, before I go to these final numbers, let me make sure I speak in the mic. I'm gonna tell you guys why I picked the Canelo plan. Why I picked it was because Bivol fight, which was his last fight, they only took in 550 pay-per-views. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna get his best number. Because I want him to be reflected at his top and at his best. So if Canelo got 58,960,000, I put that in my calculator. Plus what Caleb Plant got, 1,640,000. That comes. Y'all gonna see clear why I say what I say. That come up to $81,600. So when I make a statement, is it fair to say that I'm kind of in the ballpark or kind of reasonable and rational when I make a statement saying that his fights break even? If I'm questioning why do they even pay him that much? And if the answer is, oh, because he make all this money, do this, he do that. Let me cook for a second. Let me click these pots together. Mayweather is the only one I can think of in current times. If you want to go back before Mayweather, we're gonna go with Tyson. But when y'all gotta understand the difference between the word guarantee and speculation. Speculation is in that realm of words like I hope, I believe, I guess. Said this before on my show. Because people take speculation and they try to make it mean something other than what it means. And don't get me wrong, in the history of this country, that is one of the oldest jobs. It is one of the most profound jobs. It is one of the most important jobs. I mean, think of places like the stock market. Where would we be without speculation? Don't get me wrong, I don't knock that word, but let's keep it a buck as to what it really is. That's not guaranteed. You can take it to the bank, whatever. Speculation comes with words like collateral. If you want to go get a loan, you speculate. You guess that you need this amount to do this job or whatever, or to buy this product. The bank is speculating that you will pay them back, but they don't know if you will or won't. And based on your past, the bank gonna say, "Hey, we need some collateral. We need more assurance that we're gonna get our money back." What you got for collateral? Whatever. It's a guess, y'all. That's all I'm trying to say. Speculating. But people put emphasis in boxing on the speculation part of boxing. And I'm not sure why. Because in life in general, true logic and true rationality, you don't do that. Understand it for what it is. But in boxing, we got to make it seem like it's a guarantee. No, it's not. I don't. And don't get me wrong, I'm not beating nobody down. I'm just better explaining myself. However somebody else feel. And I told you I love all my guests, and I respect everybody's opinion. And yesterday we had fun. It's all with love, every last one of them. But I mean, I got to tell you how I think, why I feel the way I feel, and I won't move because I know better. I know the speculation is not something that's going to always be what you think it's going to be. What you think. I thought I was going to live happily ever after. Ever since I was a little kid. When I used to think about, oh, wow, who would I marry? I waited for that day. Like any other little girl, I used to dream about it because I watched fairy tales. And I thought when I was going to get married, it was going to be for happily ever after. And I saw my life playing out a certain way. I thought it. I guessed it. I speculated. But it was nothing with what I thought. It was not even close. Okay? Or versus I could say, yeah, I'm going to be 21. I'm going to be 22. That did happen. I did become 21. I did become 22. That's not thinking. That is. That's guaranteed. I know. And I don't know if that's a great example, but that is. But getting back to these numbers. 81,600. You can put the deviation formula on it, Jerry. Plus or minus whatever. 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever. If the total revenue brought in was 83,200,000, you're talking pay-per-view and the gate. If it's other revenue to come in, I don't know about. I don't know. I'm not getting in the weeds of the concession stands and all this stuff. Maybe there's stuff I would concede the fact that maybe there's a set of revenue that we don't know about that they just don't tell us. But then you got to blame the people in boxing because they painting the picture. They're telling us what they want us to know. They're not telling us everything. As far as I know, I took the numbers that they gave. I ain't put no number in that I made up or anything. I'm not gonna sit up here and say, what about concessions? None of that shit mattered. That's gonna be taken care of right there in the beginning. Because as Mayweather said, if you're not a person who can advance a fighter $3 to $4 million, you're not really a boss. We know that when the fight is being made and the contracts are signed, that managers or promoter has got to put in escrow what they promised the fighters. We know that goes down. They got to put it in escrow. That's part of the process. We know that they got to buy the site or pay for the site. The site meaning where they going to set up the cameras and where they going to have the fight. What happens in that venue, I don't know. I don't know what concessions, who it go to. I ain't got nothing to do with that. As far as merchandise, That could be something personal for the fighter. Earl Spence has his own merchandise. Bud has his own merchandise. If you buy their merchandise, I'm sure it's going into their pockets. How did they split that money with somebody? I don't know. I don't know if that generates millions. I count none of them. I counted the pay per view, which was who bought the fight. I counted the gate, which was who actually showed up for the fight. My tally number, as I said, based on the numbers that I'm using, I told you guys the numbers. I came up with 83,200,000. When I counted up the guarantees that Canelo got, Caleb got, and the split of the pay per view that they got, I came up with 81,600,000. I ain't the smartest motherfucker in the world. Let's do this on. Let's do this. So 83,200,000 leaves you minus 81,000, 81. I'm sorry, 83,200,000 minus 81,600,000 leaves you with $1.6 million. Now, I'll ask the question again. Is it safe to say? Is it fair to say? My sister says they pretty much broke even. Was that rational? I mean, they didn't take a loss, but did they really have some substantial ass gain? 1.6. That's what PBC took home. That's the profit. I mean, whatever they put up, they had got it back when they split the pay per view. I don't know what they put up. They could have put up way less than 31 million. They could have actually, to get it popping and shit, could have put up 5 million. I could see to that. I could see to that. That means out of that 31 that they got up front off the pay per view, then they made like 25, 26 million in profit. Cool, that's fine. Because that's what they keep it. But the way people talk, they make it seem like, oh, it costs millions and millions of dollars to get something popping off. I don't know. I don't know their costs. I'm just telling you what they had to pay out. The numbers don't lie. There's no way to get around these numbers. They pulled in a total of 83,200,000. They Caleb Plant and Canelo took home a total of 81,600,000. So when I say they broke even, what I said, that's all I was trying to say. Hoorah for me. It don't. I'm not trying to, you know, to be like, I told you, I told you. I'm just saying this is where the mindset comes from. It comes from that. Before you get into whoa, all this other stuff, woo woo woo. Hold up. Make sure that happens. Damn. Okay. Hold on, I was trying to show y'all something. Pull that up. And I was showing you guys. Man, I learned a new trick the other day on how to make things a little bigger. Y'all see that? I made it a little bigger. Um, I'm gonna get to y'all chest. I ain't ignoring y'all or nothing. I think I left off. You have heard that before. Also, things is not true. Those he said, Jared said those numbers are whack. Jared, I can only Google. I'm not making them up. That's all I can tell you. And I told y'all I Googled and found it. When I same way I Googled and found 800K, I Googled the other, the other numbers came up with. I mean, if that's whack, then I guess 800K is whack. But y'all see his numbers that his biggest number is when he fought Mayweather. Where is it at? Let me see. His biggest number is when he fought Mayweather. It was called The One. That was in 14 September 2013. And they go down in descending order, orders of appearance. He had 2 million pay-per-view buys. Then he went to 350, then he went to 300,000, then he went to 900, then he went to 600,000, then he went to 300,000. He broke 1 million with Chavez Jr. I don't know why. I think that's the one where they said it was called Civil War. That's the one they said they sold out Dallas Stadium, I guess. And then the first Golovkin fight, he went a little bit more than 1 million, 1,000,003. And then the second Golovkin, 1,000,001. So they know this is why now I see why they picking Golovkin. I don't care to see it, but for some reason he was doing 1 million when he fought them, and it don't really pay for him to go back and fight Chavez Jr. Then he fought Caleb Plant 800,000, and then Bivol 520. So what this is telling me is Canelo is a hit depending on who he fight. That's basically what it's telling me. He's a hit depending on who he fights. If it fight nobody huge, it takes his dance partner. So because they did 1 million buys with Golovkin, this is why we now gonna have a Golovkin 3 or whatever. Because they know in their hearts, based on the past, that's gonna break at least 1 million. That's what they think. I think it's gonna be different this time around. I don't know why people watch Caleb Plant, why that's high numbers, and because some of them other fighters, I would think they would have been higher Caleb Plant, but I think it's because people probably thought, oh, this is it for Canelo. He's on the decline, and they wanted to pay to see it. But maybe Caleb Plant got some followers as well. He got some fans as well. But you guys now see why I said they broke even. They broke even. So if we're gonna look at his past, we're gonna say he broke even, and that was last year with the Plant fight. Then we're gonna have to say this last fight he did worse. So anybody throwing money at this man, it goes to another point I always say, do what you want to do. You do what you want to do. You can't explain to me how this make business sense. Because if you gotta look at what somebody did last, or you gotta look at what the trend is as of right now, then as of right now, you're not selling that like you were Joe Golovkin or even Mayweather. As of right now, you did less than what you did as of last year in November. I'm just saying, it's a decline. So, not saying it's the worst decline. Your decline is still better than most. But what I will assess about him is that depending on his dance partner, he'll do well. He'll do well. But I think it would have probably been better, just even based on his past. Andrew Charles is in the building. Says salute, Miss C. Salute to you too, King. I think it would have been better for him to just have maybe paid Nello half of what he got, and paid Caleb half of what he got in guarantees. I think they would have came out better as far as when I say they suits, like the empty suits, like Al Heyman and them. They would have came out better if they just paid those guys half. Pay Canelo 20. That's a respectable wage, and pay Caleb 5. That's still respectable because they got the purse split from the pay per view. 60-40. They would have made out. Damn, I didn't even turn the phone. Jerry, that's you, Jerry. You gonna have to wait. Derek, I'll tell you right now, Derek.
Awesome.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Derek. It ain't time for you to get in. Hold on. I still got some, so you got to sit tight. Don't start cooking over me. I know you want to get in, but I'm gonna say my piece. I was trying to say this yesterday, but I know you familiar with Police Academy, Jared. I was sounding like hooks yesterday. I couldn't get it out, so I'm just trying to get it out now. Now I'm gonna move on. Of note, a lot of folks say that there's roughly 350 core, 350,000 core boxing fans for the fights. Now, I guess what I want to clarify, because I told you this is an update show, a correction show, and everything, and that's what this is all about. If it's 350 core boxing fans, does that mean that you travel from, no matter where boxing, who's putting the boxing event on, we can count on 350, or when Top Rank put on something, it's a different number. Golden Boy put on something, it's a different number. And if it is, then don't that make that 350 reasoning or excuse oops? So it can't be both. It's either a different number depending on who put the event on, or it's the same number that follow everybody. Keep that in note. To me, that number has to apply no matter. That's what I was just saying. Also of note, no one can say for sure or guarantee what pay-per-view can and will do. You can't add that. It's an after action report. That's what I be trying to say. And I don't know if I was clear when I was saying it. Pay-per-view numbers are after action reports, meaning before the fight, cannot be measured. But after the fight, you can measure all day. The only thing you can measure is what is before the fight. About the guarantees. You can measure the guarantees. You can measure how much the site going to charge you. You can measure this. You can measure that. The only thing you cannot measure is what happens after the fight. There's no metric or measuring tool I'm aware of also that can tell folks the race of a pay-per-view buyer. I don't know of any. I say that respectfully. I don't know of any. When I got my cable installed, just like most guys, that's a question they never ask. Can we put you down for black? Are you a black person? Are you white? Latino? They never asked me. They just said, what's your name? Social? What's your address? Okay, you got cable now. So when people buy pay-per-views, it's done in the privacy of their home. No one asks you at that point, what's your race? You want to order this fight? What's your race? What race you belong to? They don't ask you that. I've never been asked that. If some of you guys been asked that, let me know. But I've never been asked that. So to me, it's a false choice to go by the population spread because there's no way to measure that. I wanted to clear that up. Now, I would concede that I see. So, may be a little particular when it comes to exact words. Take that. That doesn't have to be the case for any of you. I take it like that. But how I see it, two fighters sit down to negotiate. Others did before them, and others will after them. Someone says to them, by the way, because of stealing, which is nothing new and can be traced back since Mayweather. Really, you can trace stealing back to any other time in life. The stealing will always happen in mostly anything done or offered. You know why? Because people will find loopholes and ways to get around. It's just the way the life is. So they tell these two great fighters, that you guys, your pay will be based on that factor. And it has to be lower than what you deserve or what you expect. And let's use some metrics now. Because what I did, I said, well, you know what? Since I did Canelo, let me go back and look at Mayweather. I'm trying to rush it for you because I know you can. But let's go back and look at metrics. Let's take EJ's biggest pay-per-view fight, and let's take Buzz last because I think that's his lowest. Let's go with that. EJ's biggest pay-per-view was 350,000 for Mikey Garcia. Bud's last fight with Porter was 130K. I think everybody's cool with that. If you add the two, that comes up to 480K. If you round off to 500K, you can't be mad because we all can agree, I'm sure, that the fight between Bud and EJ is going to blow past 500K. We all can agree to that. But we're going to use 500K as the metric because that's the closest number to, adding up both of their fights. Now we all can agree that we should lower the pay-per-view prices. I think the Black Picasso suggested that yesterday across the board. Those numbers went up when Mayweather during his era. I never agreed with them high ass prices. I don't think nobody did, but I think that's a good tactic. Lower the price, you invite more people in. I think Jerry said that too. A lot of us didn't agree that it's a good idea to lower the price. But let's just say the fight will not do that. They're not going to do that. They're probably going to charge $74. But just to be fair, let's use the number $60. Fair, just and giggles, right? Depending on what they charge, we also can gather what they think. Because if you look at Frank Martin and Luis Ortiz, they don't charge next to nothing for that fight, but they don't think that shit gonna do nothing anyway. They don't think much about that fight. That's why they can charge that. So if you take 500K times 60, you're gonna come up with 30 million. 30 million divided by half equals 15 million. EJ, if he got 60%, Bud got 40%, that means 15 million. 60% of 15 million is 9 million. 40% of 15 million is 6 million. Take what they both made in their previous fight, add them together, and divide it by two, like get an average. And then you can either pay them, the average is going to be 3.75. So you can either pay them 4 million a piece or 3 million a piece. That's a compromise. And to Mayweather, if you listen to that, it's a great compromise. That's where you do the compromise. Right there. You pay him the same guarantee. You give EJ 60, you give Bud 40. And that's, of course, depending on those men agreeing to that, because I don't speak. But I'm just saying the compromise can be made in the guarantee. Because in the end of the day, after the pay-per-view split, it's going to be the biggest check that either one of them have ever got. Now, if we look at the gate, they say Canelo and Plant sold 18 to 20. I'm going to use those numbers because I know Bud and EJ can sell that too. So we're going to take the highest, and that's 20. So if you add the 15 million or the 30 million with the gate of 20, that comes out to a total of $50 million. If you subtract the 12 million, which is the total of the split in pay-per-view and the guarantee to EJ, and then 9 million, which is the same thing, the total the split of pay-per-view guarantee for Bud, you come up with 29 million. PBC should be happy with banking 29 million. But banking 1.6 million on the Canelo side, I didn't get that shit. But that's, to me, is about as fair as it can be. I don't know what more they want. But and this is probably the last time I'll say this. When I talk about using reasons, if you're going to use a reason as to come up to why somebody say this or that, I need to see you say all the time. Don't my eyebrow go. I'd be like, did you make me ask the question? Why? What's the difference? And I can't help that I grew up in the world that I grew up in. I don't see the world dog lenses. It through mine, a double minority living in America. When I see what I see, I see everything ain't racial, and everything ain't card giving, card carrying, Ku Klux Klan level. But shit can be discrimination. It could be equal opportunity issue. It could be all that stuff. It could be under those umbrellas, which is still fucked up. So, in the end of the day, that's what I wanted to clarify, update, and everything. And after that, we'll get Jared because he huffing and puffing. Jared, I hear you breathing. You take your blood pressure. Check your blood pressure, Jerry, before we get started.
I was blowing some crumbs off of my glass disc.
Jerry don't have no heart attack over there. You gotta hear you. But that's what I wanted to say. Jerry, you got the floor, Jerry. Go ahead.
They say the fight's in real jeopardy now. They're saying that they may move on, and Earl Spence might fight Keith Thurman. Did you hear about that?
Yep, I heard. And it don't make me happy, but what can you do?
Now, it don't make me happy either, but you know what? If they can't make the fight, then they best to move on, especially Bud, because the clock is ticking for him and Earl too, especially at 147, because he can't stick around at that weight much longer. By his own admission, he's too big for that weight.
I see you, PGA's big dog. Salute to you, King. Go ahead, Jerry. I'm sorry. I like to recognize everybody.
Yeah. Regarding all that you was just talking about, I can't get into all that. I mean, the writing's really on the wall. First off, you forgot the PBC puts on a fight card just like Top Rank or Daz, and they bring the ring to the venue and they set the ring up, and on that ring it'll say Modelo. It'll have advertisers, millions of dollars of revenue that you just didn't even count.
No, but I conceded. I said, if there's other revenue.
Yeah, right. There's millions of dollars of revenue. Probably at least 10, maybe more. Then, when the fight, oftentimes in foreign markets is pay-per-view. And in Mexico, any nightclub, any venue that airs that fight, which there's several, they have to pay a huge license fee to air that fight. And there's just a lot of revenue that you didn't consider there. Caleb Plant did not get $22 million. No way, no shape, no form. I'm not even certain he got 10 million. That's what was reported.
But the 800. If y'all want me to accept the 800, when I pull up the 800, I'm telling you the truth. I stood corrected. Then I Roger up. I said, y'all were right. It was 800. But in pulling that up, you know what was else in that paragraph? With those other numbers.
Yeah, but the other thing is the 50%. That's a misnomer. I've heard that before too, but it's just not true. It's more like a third, which is just what promoters, get to promote most fighters. But some fighters that are higher earners, the promoter won't get a third. Kind of like a lawyer, if he takes a big lawsuit that he knows he's going to win, a lot of times you can negotiate him down from a third to a more reasonable 25%. And the same thing happens there. If you are putting on an event with a big earner like a Canelo or a Mayweather, then they're not going to operate on a 50% margin. They're going to operate on a maybe half of that.
So let me be clear right quick, Jerry. I wasn't talking about what the promoter gets from his fighter. I know that's a third. I'm agreeing with you on that. But I was talking about no. What I was talking about is the money that come in from pay-per-view.
Yeah,
what they get off the rip. But then the promoter gonna turn around, yes, and say, "I'm your promoter. You got to pay me a third of what I just paid you."
But go ahead. That's about what they usually operate on with the back end is about a third. Not 50%.
50% of the total pay-per-view goes back to somebody.
Whatever the back end money is. But if you're a big earner, they'll even operate on a less profit margin. Just like I do all the way down from that big business that we're discussing all the way down to my much smaller business. If I have a big job, I can afford to do it on a lesser profit margin. And the same business principles apply there. And this is how, in fact, the big earners like Mayweather and Canelo and Oscar can avoid the promoter being part and parcel to it. Because for 99% of the rest of the fighters, they have to have the promoter. They have to have it. But when you earn like that, then you can finance the fight, and the securities are there, like you talked about. Of course, there's a level of presumption with, of course they have to estimate some. Certainly they have to estimate some, just like any business deal. You're going to have to do some prognosticating and estimating on what you think could happen. And I tell people all the time, these promoters lose money more than you think. People think that if you're a fight promoter, you just get into the fight promotion business and you just start making money hand over fist on everybody. No, not even close. It works just like any other business. You make money on some, you lose money on others, and you break even on on a lot of the what's in the middle. So it's no different than anything else. If it was infallible that you just did it and just made money just like people think, everybody would be in the fight promotion business. In fact, it's a tough business, to be honest with you, and getting tougher every day with the illegal streaming, with the market for U.S. boxing being so low. It's tougher and tougher to be a fight promoter now, and getting tougher every day.
But Jared, we gotta keep stuff in perspective. I do like to pay attention to the chat. So you're more than welcome. I just want to tell you, you're more than welcome to answer some of this chat, or I will. But PGA's Big Dog, I don't mean to interrupt you, Jared. Sorry for that. But I do want to pay attention to my chat. PGA's Big Dog, Bud versus Spence will probably only get 350 pay-per-views. This I took Spence's highest pay-per-view, which was 350 with Garcia, and I added Bud, I guess considerably lower pay-per-view, which was 130. If that's what they got on their own, if you bring them together, that's why I came up with the 500K. That's the only reason why I came up with the 500K. Because if we know that Earl can get 350 or 300, Bud can get 130, we can round out to 500 because this is a mega fight. PGA also said, but I hate the pocket watching shit. Make damn fight. Yeah, I do too, but it got to be talked about. Jerry said exactly. And PGA says Spence and Bud need to shop the fight around. Showtime. They had 50 million for Canelo. Don't have a shot for them. Stop the damn fight. Don King would get this shit made. I believe so too. But that's why I say, Jerry, in the end of the day, when I make statements like they pretty much broke even. There's no crime against that. I'm not saying they're negative.
But they didn't. You did your antiquated math. It's inaccurate. There's inaccuracies all over the place, and you left out.
Anybody see any inaccuracies?
Sources of revenue.
Anybody see any inaccuracies of what I did? I took.
I just told you what they were. I told you what they were. You left out millions of dollars of revenue.
I can count too.
You don't truly understand all the revenue sources that are involved in putting on an event like that.
If they want us to understand it, they would tell us everything. I got the same information.
You don't need to understand the way I'm explaining it to you, because that's their business. They're not going to tell you. Here's how you know in the end. In the end, this is how you know that they made money.
That they gave all of us. I didn't get no extra. You're not. Well, you might be closer, but everybody out here in America, we got the same information. I can only take the numbers that they gave. I didn't pull no numbers out of my ass. I just took the numbers they gave us.
Right, but again, there's 4 or 5 other sources of revenue that you're not considering.
You can't keep saying that. I conceded to that.
You're going by the numbers that you are aware of. The live gate, the pay-per-view sales. You don't know the merchandising. You don't know the endorsers and the advertising dollars.
I knew you was gonna say the merchandise.
And you don't know foreign pay-per-view numbers.
Merchandise go to the
fighter. Like 4 or 5 sources of revenue that you're not considering.
The merchandise is going to the fighter because that's their merchandise. I would concede with the endorsements and stuff like that.
The merchandise doesn't go all to the fighter. A lot of times that's also split.
But I said the merchandise, this is a true statement what I just made. Merchandise go, if Terrence Crawford is selling his merch, he's selling his merch. And what he was split is like if it's when I went to the Mayweather fight in the MGM, his shit was all in the store. I got there and it seemed like in a day, all that shit was gone. So I'm sure that store
got any of that money.
Well, listen, I'm sure that MGM got a piece, but the bulk of that went to Mayweather because it's his merchandise. It's the only place you could find it.
Now, did you hear a couple months ago that the PBC had offered Canelo after the Plant fight $100 million for a 2-fight deal? This was right before he signed the DAZN deal. It was to either fight Earl Spence or Benavidez or Charlo or 2 of the 3.
Yeah, I heard that.
This was that. Yeah, okay. Now that's $50 million up from the $40 million that they paid him, where you claimed they broke even.
I'm talking about the numbers
why
that they
would they
gave us.
turn around and offer him $10 more million per fight if they didn't make any money?
I'm saying this, Jerry. When I say, again, they give the public numbers. They don't talk about their endorsement deals. That I don't think they have to report those. They report the numbers that they say they're going to give. They paint the picture like they're transparent. And if they're not transparent, then they lying to the public. But I took the numbers that they gave. And if they're making money off of endorsements, and we know that advertisement is big business. So basically they making money off endorsements. That's it. So, but I'm saying with all that 83 million, the pay-per-view, the gate, and all that, they paid out 81 million to both of those fighters. To me, when I say shit like it pretty much broke even. So to me, I would think that they want to break. I would think that they want to make more money just in that transaction. But basically, what you're saying is not that type of transaction where they make their money. It's really the endorsements that these fights make money off of. So is that what you're saying, Jerry? Because if you're telling us that
it's the pay-per-view sales largely. It's largely the pay-per-view sales.
I just gave you the pay-per-view numbers.
Right. But you're off about the 50%. You're off by at least 20% there.
I'm not off with the 50%.
Maybe more.
I'm not off with the because if you're gonna tell me
where did you read that the PBC took 50% of the back end?
Because it is
somebody say
it's widely known. No, and it could be wrong.
No, it's not. It's not widely
it's
known.
widely known that when the pay-per-view comes in, that 50% of that tally goes back to whomever, whoever you want to say it go back to, the manager, the promoter, whoever, it goes back. But then the manager / promoter, like a Bob Arum or a Golden Boy or whoever, they're gonna pay their fighter, right? But that fighter owes them a third, just like you say. So you mixing apples and oranges. I'm not talking about the money that the fighter owes his promoter or manager. I'm talking about the pay-per-view tally off the rip. Before they pay the fighter, off the rip, 50% of that is going back to the people who promoted that shit. Straight off the rip. And then the promoter, in other words, get 2 paychecks. Go ahead. That's what I was saying, Jim. That's all I was saying.
I'm here to tell you that's not true. Whoever told you that does not know what they're talking about. But I'm not going to debate it any further because I can't prove to you right now that it's not true.
But when you get a chance,
when it comes to the endorsement and the advertisement money, Magic Johnson, when he quit playing basketball, was making about $14 million a year playing basketball. And in endorsements, he was making $160 million a year. Just to give you a peep at what endorsement dollars mean, Gennady Golovkin, when he was making that title run, he was going to fight somebody. I remember the guy doing an interview, and his promoter said that they didn't even want a purse. All they wanted was his endorsers on the ring apron. That's what they were going to take for pay, because a lot of people don't know this about Golovkin, but in Eastern Europe, he's a marketing bit of a marketing mogul. He has like all the endorsements over there that a fighter or an athlete can get, and he gets a lot of money from that. And that's why he got that Nike deal here in the U.S.
And you know what, Jerry? I believe you, because I said a long time ago. This was a while ago when they was comparing at the war, Ukrainian Lomachenko. They were saying people like him better than Mayweather. I looked up people like
how you breaking up on me?
I looked up people like Golovkin and Lomachenko years and years ago when they were saying that Loma was better, than Mayweather had his prime or something. And I was just looking through Google and I saw Lomachenko's network back then, way back then. This was years ago, probably 2015-ish, I don't know, maybe around that time. And I saw his network on Google, and I remember this like yesterday. And I said $25 million. His network is 25. I was like, he never even did a pay-per-view. I remember thinking that. I never spoke on it. I was like, how the fuck? Because then I thought about when Mayweather said so many years ago, over a decade ago at least, he said, and I'm not being racial, he said, if I was white, I would have made $1 billion. And I felt that weird because I feel like, Floyd, you damn near making $1 billion. What are you talking about? But that's what he had to say. And I was like, how would he say that?
See, the thing is, and Mayweather's a good example. Now, Loma, first off, I don't trust the online Google net worth bullshit. I've seen a lot of that,
I
and
feel
you
you.
can't trust that shit. But even if Loma does have a big net worth, it's likely because of the endorsement deals in Eastern Europe. Because over there, if they get a world class fighter, a champion, that's a big deal. That's a big deal over there. They're celebrated athletes over there. I get Golovkin has a huge um, sponsorship profile over there. He has like all the major sponsors. In fact, he was even able to land a Nike deal here in the U.S. Very few boxers have ever gotten that, and they don't just hand those out. But they figured, we might as well because he's such a sponsorship icon in Eastern Europe. It might not be much to lose. Now, from what I understand, he didn't get the biggest deal from Nike. But the bottom line is those sponsors mean something. In Mayweather, it wouldn't have been if he was white because he already made close to $1 billion anyhow. The reason Mayweather didn't break the bank even further than he did is because when he left Bob Arum, he also left all the endorsement deals. He didn't have major endorsements because he wanted to say and behave the way he wanted to say. And endorsers, they they don't like it if you cuss, or they got a criteria of how they expect an athlete to behave if they're going to endorse them, white, black, or it doesn't matter. And Mayweather didn't want that. Now, hey, more power to him. He wanted to say what he wanted to say. He wanted to tell people to kiss his ass and things like that. And it worked out for him. I mean, it worked out real well, but he didn't get the endorsements. But he knew that. He knew that he wasn't going to get endorsements by doing what he did. But he figured it would pay off more, or just as well, doing it his way, and he was right.
I feel you. I
You
feel
know,
you. Mayweather did do most of his career without any endorsements. I remember that.
yeah.
It wasn't
But
till
he knew
later
he knew
because it
that.
was what it was. Hublot was when I first started seeing him for somebody's endorsement. I was like, oh, he's doing endorsement now. When he walked out with the Burger King guy, like, oh,
Yeah, I think Corona was one of his endorsements for a couple fights. The big endorsement deals were there for him, but he wanted to do it his way, and more. God bless him because he was able to make it successful. But we can't pretend that a big part of the reason Mayweather was so popular is because he was disliked. He made himself dislikable, and anyone can tell you when you do that, you gonna it's just
link
like a
in the
heel
chat.
in.
Go ahead. All right.
Yeah, Ric Flair was one of the most popular wrestlers
Yeah, the
in the
Nature
history
Boy.
of wrestling, but Ric Flair was a heel most of his career. He people hated him. Now we love him and we look back, we see how funny, and we all grew up with him. But that's what it is. Most fighters, most boxers don't want to do that. They want the fans to like them, right? Like, I'm a performer in a band. I want the fans to like me. Most fighters don't want to turn heel. Boots Ennis, I've seen Boots Ennis interviewed not that long ago, and he's a real polite kind of guy. Every interview I've seen him in, and the guy asked him, how come you don't talk shit, and how come you don't try to do. And he said, man, I'm a good guy, and that's just what I am. So, and
Yeah.
I remember when Mayweather fought Ricky Hatton, but it wasn't just Hatton. There was plenty of fights where they hold a press conference in Vegas, and all the fans there are the fans of his opponent. And it really got to him in the Hatton fight because there was 15,000 fans there, and it was almost all Brits. There was hardly any Mayweather fans, and they were right in Vegas, right where Mayweather, his adopted hometown. And after the fight and the interviews, he was, I could tell that it was bothering him a little bit, but he knew what the deal was. Other fights, I could tell it didn't bother him at all. When he fought Conor McGregor, they had those big press conferences, and they were pro McGregor. Just absolutely, you could just tell the whole crowd was basically cheering for McGregor, even though everybody probably knew he was going to lose, but still. But that was part of Mayweather's marketing plan, and it's hard to argue it because it's not like he didn't make any fans though, because he did. He had tons of people that loved him, of course. So he probably just figured, fuck it, I'm gonna get your money, whether you love me or hate me.
Well, he was able to transition to that. Everybody can't do it. That's just a fact of life. Like I'm not an instigator or a big egocentric person. So to tell me to do it, it would be very hard pressed for me to do something like Mayweather because I just it's not who I am. But hold on, Jared. We got extraordinary O in the building. Was popping key. We'll give him a chance to speak, and then we can open it up to all three of us. What's up, extra?
Hey,
What's
Queen,
up?
what's going on, Queen? What's going on, Queen T?
Nothing much. What you got on?
I don't know. It look like I'm getting an echo. I don't know if I need to go out. I don't know if I need to go out and come back in because I'm getting a.
Well, we hear you very clear. You're not echoing over my side. You hear me, Jerry?
What's up, bro?
Yeah, we hear you clear.
What's going on, Jerry?
What's up, extra? Extra. Read all about it.
Oh man.
What's up, man?
I think he went out. He gonna come back in. When he come back in, Jerry, we're gonna let him get in. But he hears an echo. Extra, we heard you very loud and clear. It was very clear and precise on this side. So I don't know if it's some on your side or whatever. But I feel you, Jerry. I just wanted to clear things up. I always correct myself. If I'm wrong, you guys are woman enough to come back and say, well, I was wrong, or I stand corrected or whatever.
Yeah,
that's
but
what I was doing.
Guess what I was looking at when you was talking that. You said 800,000 for the Plant Canelo fight.
I said that's what they said the pay-per-views were.
Yeah, because I heard it was less. I heard it was 550,000.
I did too, Jerry, and everybody yesterday was saying no, it was 800. So, and then I just showed you guys on Wikipedia. If you look it up now, Jerry, it's gonna say 800. When it was at the time of the fight, it was less numbers. But that was November last year, and now we're into July of this year. And if you're looking it up on Google right now, this year, it's going to say 800. I was hard to press to find.
What I've seen right on Dad's site that they projected it would do 550. That's what they projected.
No. What I'm saying to Caleb Plant, I know.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Not Dad's and PBC projected 550,000, but after it was all tallied, it was 800,000. That's what they're saying it was now. That's just what I seen.
That's why I used the number. I just went with the highest number. I took his best numbers, but Extra is back. What's up, Extra?
Yo, Miss T, what's going on?
Okay, you got the floor.
All right, I wanted. Sorry about that. What's going on, Jerry?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, you got it, man. You got it. I kind of caught your show because I usually be on the E-Thriller panel, E-Thriller and the B-Mac panel. So yeah. I kind of caught a glimpse of your show yesterday. I wanted to come on and cook for a minute.
Go ahead, cook.
They get crazy.
They get
crazy over there, man.
Yeah, it was good. It was all good. It's all love, y'all. I love all these guys, but go ahead, Extra. I saw he put the clip. That's shout out to E-Thriller. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted so I just wanted to elaborate on the whole thing with the split. Really, I personally, as a boxing fan, I don't give a damn about the split. But since we're talking about it, I'm confused on why people not talking about the fact that, you know, I just feel like Al Heyman didn't want this fight anyway. You know, I don't think that he wanted this fight from the beginning. The reason why I say that is because, you know, this fight been cooking for a long time. And you know, Earl don't have a say so. It's not like he can make this fight happen unless he, you know, venture out and go other avenues. But to me, I look at it as Al Heyman, and see what I was trying to tell people, that do you see how Keith Thurman jumped the line in the WBC rankings to be the number one contender for the?
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Speak up, actually. Speak up.
Yeah, I said, did you see how he jumped the line in the WBC rankings to be the number one contender?
Yes.
Yeah, so they've been wanting this shit to happen. It wasn't never gonna be. I think that whole they was gonna make it to the point where Bud, where he couldn't, you know, where they, you know, where it was, you know, they was throwing the 80-20, the 70-30, you know, outrageous numbers out there, shit that he shouldn't, you know, he's not gonna go for that. He coming from a place at top rank where he was getting like 3, 4, 5 million guaranteed, and you know, now he got to look at it like, okay, he make about $1.5 million, and then he gets back end money and all that stuff like that. So they're gonna try to screw him anyway, because they never wanted this fight with Bud, because I think the Al Heyman wanted them belts to stay on the PBC side. If Bud whoops Earl ass, then the belts will leave PBC. You know, that's the way I see it.
I see your point, and plus, you know, it's almost like and I don't know if you gentlemen agree with me, but it's almost like you have the big ticket item right here, but maybe you thinking, let me squeeze some juice from over here before I get to that big ticket item, and then I'm gonna get all the juice up out of this whole situation. That's how I look at that. They doing that, but and not just with these two fighters. I see them do it all the time, and I be like, look, this is why y'all ruining boxing.
Yep.
We don't pay to see the empty suits. It's nothing about Bob, Oscar, Lloyd, Al, and Eddie that we want to see in the ring. We're not interested in y'all. We're interested in the boxers that's on the docket, and you moving them around trying to squeeze every little bit that you can from these low level fights, and you make a big killing off of that before you move to the big level fights. By that time, people's interests have waned and they're gone. Do y'all think of it like that?
Yeah, and that's the reason why UFC took off the way it did, Miss T. If you notice, because the best fighters were fighting the best. The best was fighting the best. It wasn't the suits getting involved and all that type of thing like that. I'm sorry, Jerry, if I cut you off. But that's what was happening when they was going to watch the UFC. The best people were fighting the best. And, you know, we boxing fans, we want to see the best fight the best. And what them suits are doing, they messing up the game, just like you said.
Yeah, what you gonna say, Jerry?
Here's what I think. I think the PBC tried to make the fight. I think that there's a reason why Spence has unified the other three belts. They want to get them the undisputed the title, and Bud's the last fight. I can understand why they saved him for last, because A, he was fighting on a different promotion, and that was going to make its own complications. But B, he also probably going to be the toughest guy to beat. But I do think they wanted to make the fight. Keith Thurman being installed as the number one contender only underlines what I tell you all the time, that the rankings, they're bought and paid for. So anytime you look at the rankings, just know that the fighters that are up there, oftentimes, yeah, they're the most recognized and close to the top fighters, but not even those guys. That they're put there, the promoters buy those rankings, and that's just this Keith Thurman, just another example. So what I think happened is they've had months now. They even said they were negotiating this Crawford fight even before Crawford fought Porter, because they knew that was going to be it for Bud and Bob. So they've been negotiating this fight even before he fought Porter. I think they've spent enough time negotiating. The fighters want to get paid like superstars, but neither are superstars. The money not there for the fight. So they're moving on. What can they do? They can't keep Spence on the shelf forever. And Thurman is right there. And even though that's not as big a fight, And it's certainly not as anticipated. It is an in-house fight. It's another check for them to cash, and they probably Spence been he ain't been busy anyway, so he probably is like, hey man, let's do something. If we can't make this fight, we're gonna have to move on.
Sash, what you got extra?
Yeah, Mr. Jerry, but do you think that, see, the way I look at it is the fact that, and I know you say the PBC wanted to make this fight and they've been in negotiation and stuff, but have they really? Because my thing is, I'm looking at the fact that this fight been simmering for a while. And like you said, they said, okay, they want to get all the, Earl want to get all the belts and stuff like that. And I guess he was confident that he was going to win all those fights. So, hey, it happens. We here now. But my thing is, do you think that the fact that Bud, didn't sign with the PBC have something to do with this, this whole thing? Because, like I said, it seems like they just jacking around with the splits and all that type of stuff like that. It don't seem like it seems like they're not trying to really. The suits are really not trying to make this fight. It's just too much going on for me behind the scenes.
Here's something that I've learned throughout this thing. Bob Arum has said that Terrence is hard to work with, and he overvalues his worth. Now, if you want to think that Bob Arum's a racist, and some do, and you want to think that Bob Arum, if you want to just disregard his opinion, okay, let's disregard his. But that's one, Bob Arum. But the people at PBC have said the same thing, and the guy at Espinoza at Showtime has said Bud's got to be realistic. He's not realistic with the numbers, and he said that. But to me, the real deal breaker is Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, I watched a YouTube video with him a couple weeks after the Bob and Bud split. It was about a month afterwards, and he said that Dazn met with Bud, and he had a lot of good things to say about Bud Crawford. Scott said he was the best fighter in the world, but he said the negotiations quickly went nowhere. It didn't even take that long. He said the numbers that Dazn had in mind and what Crawford wanted was not even close. He said it didn't even take long, 20, 30 minutes, and that was it.
But you know what I see?
Oh, go ahead. But now you got four people saying the same thing. Now, I don't know. I'm not in the room to know what Bud Crawford wants or what he demands. And a lot of people are doing a lot of unfair speculating. But to me, a lot of times where there's smoke, there's fire. And if you got four people, you want to disregard Bob Arum because their business deal went bad, you can. But then that still leaves three other people in the boxing promotion business saying the same thing about Bud Crawford and what kind of money he wants.
But what I see, Jerry, if I can interject, Bob started this stuff because nobody really was seeing that before Bob went on his tangent, and that was around the Cal Brook fight. And so monkey see, monkey do in the sense.
But nobody would have really known because he had only dealt with Bob.
I know. That's why I'm saying it. And I thought that goes without saying. He only had dealt with Bob, but Bob started that, and everybody followed suit. What I think is Terrence Crawford is a shrewd businessman. He know his worth. He know his value.
Right.
And he stand on his 10 toes. And they don't like that because they don't see the value in him. Doesn't mean that he don't see the value in himself. That don't mean that he's difficult, because if he's not a difficult person out in public, Bud does not act like a donkey out in public. He don't. We don't see that. He never does. As much as some people may want him to, like you say, embrace the villain side, that's just not him. I see him going into the room and say, this is what I want. I'm not bending. And I see them saying, well, this is what we feel you deserve, and we're not bending. Oh, conversation over. That's how quick that meeting can go. It's not nothing nefarious.
We call that
it's not.
Yourself
but
out.
hold on, Jerry. It's not nothing bad I'm saying about them. It's not nothing bad I'm saying about Bud. You can have that with anybody, white, black, or indifferent. I think that Bud knows his value. He doesn't bend. He's not going to let nobody devalue him. He worked hard, and he have seen. I mean, if you just make a small comparison, and you can say it's apples and oranges because Ryan Garcia works with Golden Boy. But if you look at all the rewards and privileges they give to Ryan, I will never tell another man or a grown woman what they deserve or what they shouldn't get. But if you just looking, I'm comparing, at how they treat Ryan, right? Ryan has not offered anything to the sport. He has not done anything. He has not accomplished anything. Those are facts. But Ryan can come in there and demand a lot more and make them bend, and they will capitulate. But they won't do it for Bud. And somebody like a Bud is going to see, what, you did that for Ryan. What, you did that for Tyson. And you're basing it on their career. But why you don't base nothing on my career? I've done good too. And this is why I'm not bending. And that's a source of contention for people who don't see value in you. And Bud is probably experiencing that in all walks of life. I can say that with a straight face because I, on my low level of living, understands. I can relate. You know what I'm saying? Extra.
Yeah, I
No,
mean,
I get it. Listen, I'm all for fighters getting money, any of them, no matter what they've done and no matter where they rank. If you can get the money out of the promoter's pocket and get it into the fighter's pocket, that's fine with me because more times than not, the fighters get screwed. And I'm not fixing to sit and tell somebody what their worth is, but the promoters do. That's their job, and they're going to pay you what they feel you're worth. And if you, in the past, with every other fighter, if you price yourself out of that market, then that's what you're doing. You're pricing yourself out. You think you're worth this, but anyone who's willing to pay for the fight says you're worth this. And if you don't try to find a way to meet a medium there, I mean, look, if he wants to stand on his spot and say, hey, this is what I want and that's what I want and I don't care what you say. I mean, fighters have done that in the past. Marvin Hagler done that because after he fought Leonard and he retired, but he was offered a lot of money to come back. And he from a principle perspective, he didn't want to do it. There's very few fighters that really going to stand that firmly on their principle, and when they do, I applaud them. But it may cost us the fight.
It's a catch 22. I agree completely with you on that. But this is when I come into that
when the
state.
rubber meets the road.
Yeah, this is when I come into that statement. Like, they will do what they want to do, and they sometimes bite their nose off despite their face. Because Ryan, we know he can make them bend, and he hasn't offered nothing. But Bud cannot make them bend, and he might lose out. His career might be over, and that might be an acceptable loss for him. It might be something that he later grows to regret or whatever. But he might be like, I'm not bending because his, maybe like you said, pride and ego. But we know, the suits know, that this fight is mega and it will make money. But they're willing to walk away just so that they don't do a solid for him. Now, with the solid,
No,
that 20 million, hold on,
you,
20
you're
million,
crazy to think that
20 million.
they're taking it personally.
I'm not
They're only
saying no,
looking,
but
they're
you
only looking
mixing.
at it from a money perspective. If they feel like they can make money,
Jared,
by all means they'll do it. But if the purse is together
it's
and
not personal.
don't meet up with the numbers and they don't look like it'll
It's
make
not
money,
personal.
then they're not going to do it.
It's not personal, and that's why I did that breakdown. What I took, what I said was a reasonable guarantee. I was talking about EJ, EJ's highest gate as far as pay per view, and Bud's lowest, which was his last fight with Porter, 130, and the 350. Add them together, you got 480. We can round out to 500. Those are respectable numbers. We know that a fight between EJ and Bud will blow past 500,000.
No,
Right. And I'm going in this fight. If I'm Bud, I'm looking at it like this. I'm going into this fight thinking, just think, Mr. Jerry, you don't play boxing. This me thinking of Bud. You don't play boxing. Every time I get in that ring, it's a risk. You know what I'm saying? And I know I signed up for this, but this is a mega fight. And what he's saying, and what he's saying, he's standing on. Yes, he's standing his square because at the same time, you suits and all that stuff. You're not getting in the ring. You're not. I'm the one getting in the ring. I got to take care of my family. I have to make sure that that if anything happens, that they are taken care of or whatever. And because things can happen, we know what happened to G-Man. We know what happened to some of these fighters in the past that suffers whatever they suffer or brain damage or whatever it may be. But he's standing on his square because right. He's standing on his square because he believes he knows what he's worth and he know it's a capability. He know that this fight can make money. if they promote it right. You know, in this fight, and let me say one more thing. This fight for now, I do agree that you got a Spence and you got a Crawford, and with the casuals, they're not very known with the casuals, but as boxing fans, that's what we stand up, you know, and say, okay, this fight right here, because it go back to piracy, what you said, what y'all was talking about piracy, you know, people, you know, going on fire stick and, you know, doing all that. But this is a fight that, you know, these guys that as fight fans, we want to see, you know, and this is when we say, okay, you know, we're gonna purchase this fight, you know, because we know this fight is worth it, you know, and that's what I'm saying. And that's for the promoters and all them to promote this fight, so the casual can get to, you know these guys. However you do it, put them out there on the circuit, whatever you need to do. This is a big fight, you know. People need to know these guys. People need to know Spence. People need to know Crawford. People need to know Spence outside of Texas. People need to know Crawford outside of Nebraska, you know, and things of that nature. So yes, this is a big fight. We know how big it is because we're fight fans, but the casuals don't. They don't know these guys. It's not like it's a Tyson fight where you can go throw some meat on the grill and invite a couple guys over and say, I'm ordering their fight tonight and all that stuff. They names are not like that. They're not even putting in, like y'all said, we're not even talking about Mayweather. They're not even putting in Canelo numbers. So, you know, it's up to us as fight fans to even, you know, push this fight. You know, we're going to purchase this fight.
But you know what? I will say this to you guys. As a content creator, I can tell you this. You can Google, and this is a rudimentary way to do it. They are trending. So when people say casuals don't know them, I agree, because that's a story that they pull out. But then Google tells me something else. If you put Earl's name in it, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be followed by Terrence Crawford or vice versa. That is what's trending on Google every damn day. And I mean trending big. So either casuals do know them, or the hardcore fans is just keep on looking.
Don't know them, and that's they're not alone. Casuals don't know who Lomachenko is either. Jerry, casuals don't know who Gennady Golovkin is.
But Jerry, all I said was that is the story they put out, and that's what we run with, right?
Yeah, but
all I'm telling you is what Google does. Every one of y'all can go do it right now. Right. They are trending.
No, I don't care. The casuals don't know who they are. Casual boxing fans, if you can call them that, are the key demographic that make a big fight, because the hardcore fans make up for just what you're hearing, 350 to 500,000 roughly in the entire country.
So why are they trending more than everybody else?
And what distinguishes the hardcore fan is he's going to pay $80 to watch that fight.
But now, as I said, they are trending. When you put, there's a handful of boxers that you can put in Google, and they're trending more than everybody else. Earl Spence, Earl Crawford are one of them.
See, let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. Then, if they make this fight, and then they say, okay, we're gonna sign a 2 or 3 fight deal. You know, will we be in agreement that I know, you know, not as many casuals know him now, but after this first fight, I know. See, that's the thing. I'm confused with these promoters. They can make this a 2 fight deal, 2 or 3 fight deal, you know, and make money. You know, first, if they don't make that much money the first fight, they can come back and make this. This can be something mega, something big. You know, if they thinking like that. I don't understand what they're doing. Because you got
because when you're talking about those multi-fight deals, and I agree that is sometimes how they make a big fight. They sign a guy to a multi-fight deal, and that way it kind of ensures that they have a better chance of making money, even if they lose out on the big fight, if they break even. But that's with a popular fighter. Bud, as good as he is, probably the best in the world, he's not that popular. So therefore, it only complicates matters to sign him to a multi-fight deal, especially if he loses, because let's not make a mistake. That's going to be a PBC promotion. Earl Spence is their champion. They want Earl to win. He's got 3 of the belts now. They want him to win that fight. So that whole promotion is favored towards Earl Spence.
That's what I just said.
Thriller made a good idea. He made a suggestion.
If he takes a loss in that fight, How are they going to make up if they got now? They got to provide 2 more fights for an unpopular fighter
The
that
same
wants
way
to
they
get
doing with
paid like a
Canelo.
popular fighter.
The same way they doing with Canelo right now. He took a loss and he got 2 more fights.
Can't do it.
But
Like you can't compare.
it's not
Canelo.
comparing them
Canelo's
like that,
a big
Jerry.
star.
It's you said how they gonna do it. That's
No,
an
because
example
you
of that
automatically mention
happening.
Canelo, but you can't use him as an
But
example
you
because
can't.
he's a big star. He
But
just did a
no,
pay-per-view
no,
against a foreign
no.
opponent that nobody knows, and it did
Jerry,
550,000
you
pay-per-view.
asked that Canelo may be here at the mountaintop, and Earl and them may be in the middle, but it's still the same thing. You said how Canelo took a loss, they're gonna make their money. Whatever money they're gonna make on Bud and Earl, if one of them take a loss, they're gonna make their money on a multi-fight deal. But what I'm
No, they're
saying is,
not because they're not popular like Canelo.
hold on, Jerry. E-Thriller has made a good suggestion, but he was talking about did he sign with Mayweather, because just attaching your name to Mayweather is a good thing. I said that I don't see it happening because of them, both of their characters. That's like oil and water. But I'm not objectionable to the actual idea, because if you attach your name to Mayweather, after all, that's how Canelo got to be where he is. That's how Tank is where he is. They're gonna soar high. But if you talking about Bud and Mayweather and those 2 men chopping it up, mixing it up, being around each, oh God, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. But Taco Saul is in the building. Thank you for coming to the show. What you got on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I've been hearing the conversations. One thing, I work with computers and I work specifically with regards to data. So the thing about it, the leading aspect of Earl Spence versus Bud being trending, that's specific to your origin. That's specific to your IP location and the user base within your region. If you apply a VPN onto it and you apply that VPN into a different geographical location, I guarantee you it's going to show you some different results. So that's one thing, okay? Two, I have to agree with regards to that the casuals are the ones that bring in the hefty amount when it comes down to the purse. If we have to think about it throughout boxing history, the second highest pay-per-view boxing event involved Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, and Conor McGregor had no boxing accolades. And with Mayweather alone, they generated the second highest pay-per-view buys in boxing history. So, I mean, I want Bud and Earl to get paid, don't get me wrong. I do. But from a business perspective, though, we have to be realistic, and they don't generate as many draw as Ryan or Gervonta. Earl maybe, but not Bud. And I like them. I like them both. I want them to get paid whatever they get paid, but they're not as big a draw as they think they are.
So Taco, how many pay-per-view buys? Because I know a lot of people concentrate on those numbers. Do you think a Bud Crawford and Errol Spence fight realistically can make?
You would have to, first of all, pay-per-view buys would have to be reflective on how much the pay-per-view is being charged to begin with. If the pay-per-view is being charged too much, you might have a lower pay-per-view buy. If the pay-per-view charge isn't being charged that much, you might have a higher pay-per-view buy. It's kind of like it's kind of like going up to somebody and saying, how many pair of shoes are you going to buy? Well, it's not how many pair of shoes you're going to buy, it's how much are the shoes, how much is each pair to begin with.
I said that earlier. I said we can know what they really think about them based on how much they charge to fight. So I'm asking you again, how much you think that they can bring in? Pick a number. If it's $60 or the usual $74, you pick a number.
If it's gonna be Showtime and if it's gonna be them, more than likely they're gonna stick with whatever industry standard that they've provided with. So for the past few pay-per-view events, from my understanding, it's been $74.99, so it's $75. If it's $75, with regards to that, Best case scenario I give them is like 350, maybe even up to maybe tops 400,000 with right promotion, but I don't see it any higher though.
So you don't take in account that Bud pulled in 130 on that app, and Earl's biggest pay-per-view, which he haven't had that many, but his biggest I think was around 350. If you add those two together, that's like 480, and that's them doing their separate deal.
Bud brought in 130 through ESPN, but it was non-paid, so we can't even count that into the equation really.
What you mean by 980?
Because when Bud fought, it wasn't a paid event. It was through ESPN Plus subscription.
No, it was paid because I paid. That I can tell you. I had to pay, even though I have a subscription. I have a subscription.
Yeah. It was paid. It was paid because that's what a lot of people were complaining about. Why they got the subscription and they still got to pay for it. It was paid. It was paid. We paid for it.
Yeah, trust me, we did.
Okay. You know. Then if that's the case, we also have to think about the metrics with regards to what their opponents were. So with regards to the metrics on the opponent, Bud's highest opponent was against Mikey Garcia, so that's a completely different demographic. But I do. That's what I'm thinking. Even if we were to add the 360 and the 130, that would still be under 490. I hope even with those metrics with regards, let's round it up to 500. Let's round it up to 500. Let's round it up to 500. At $75 for 500. For 500, we're looking at roughly, let's see, if it's $70 at 500,000 buys, that's a $35 million purse. Yeah. So that's at $70. So it's definitely going to be north of that. If that's like the best case scenario, though. That's best case scenario if all the stars were to be aligned for them too. The problem is that this fight has taken too long to make already. And a lot of people are already getting fed up already. They're already moving past it. And the worst part about it is you have guys like Jake Paul, and I don't, whatever it is, what it is, but that dude is drawing in more. That dude is a draw, whether we want to admit it or not. That dude is a draw because he brings in his YouTube community, and people want to pay to either see him with his antics, or they want to see him hopefully lose, and he's already unlocked that. And a lot of boxers haven't even taken a page out of that. Even Roy Jones Jr., even himself, he said in a podcast, he said, if you aren't going to take a page out of this kid's book, you are dumb as a professional boxer. Start learning from this kid.
Well, that kid had his prominence before he started this career with boxing, but I'm curious, do you work for Showtime or one of the promoters or anything? You don't have to answer if you want to. No, I don't work for Showtime. I work in Silicon Valley. I work at a tech company. I work in data analytics. That's what I do. I do that for a living. So whatever. Yeah, Jerry is Bob Arum's cousin. So we got you working there for PBC. I'm just joking. But,
no. They won't. I'll tell you this. I mean, if there's one thing I do know, and it's one of those little projects that I'm working on the side, I personally feel like the boxing market is a heavily underserved market. That honestly, there's a lot of potential there for a lot of metrics and a lot of data to be opened up. It just needs the right kind of funding.
So going forward, because you sound like you're a boxing fan, because you know some of these guys, even though you work in Silicon Valley and all that, sound like you're into boxing. So what do you think the best move? Because there's a lot of suggestions that have been made, and one is for Bud to sign with PBC or at least sign with Mayweather, because just attaching his name to Mayweather is going to cause some attention drawn to them. Do you think that's a good idea?
Personally, I've been wanting Crawford to leave Bob for a good minute, and I've wanted him to join PBC just so he can get some action within the 147. I like Bud, don't get me wrong. I do like him, but I don't see him being the kind of guy that can manage his own career almost like Mayweather, because he doesn't carry that kind of Mayweather. That dude's rare. That dude's just like once in a lifetime kind of being, where not only did he buy his own contract out, but he started managing well along with Al Heyman, but he started self-promoting himself and stuff like that. I don't see Bud being that way.
Bud left Bob, just so you know.
Yeah.
Bud left Bob last year, so he's
Yeah,
by
yeah.
himself.
Yeah, and I'm glad. But the thing about it is, we have to think about it. It took him a while to do that already, and from my understanding, Bud, he's getting up there in age too, and we all know boxing is a young man's sport.
They 2 years apart.
What I would say is this: the fact that you know he left. Okay, yes, he left Ball, he left Top Rank. But my thing is now my thing is for him to sign either, because he's on his last leg. Yeah, we all can agree that Bud's getting up there. So either sign with Mayweather or sign with PBC, so you can get those fights. But it's a reason why he's not signing with PBC. It's something going on, because I'm thinking that, you know, you come from Top Rank where you're making guaranteed money. You know, you're making, you know, 3, 4, 5 million, per match. So my thing is, you're going over to PBC, and you see we can clearly see that Earl's purse was like 1.5 million with, you know, pay-per-view splits, you know, and all this stuff like that. I don't think Bud is the back end money type guy. He's looking at it like, okay, I'm coming from a place where I got guaranteed money, something like that. But my suggestion to him, if he's going after legacy, is to go ahead and sign with a Mayweather or PBC, so he can get those fights. Because PBC, I'm thinking Al Heyman's not going to let him. I just don't think Al Heyman's going to let this fight happen, because if Bud wins, you know what I mean, that the belts are gone for PBC. PBC don't have the welterweight belts no more. Bud have all the belts. So I'm just thinking there's a lot of variables around it.
I agree, and at that point, it's open season on the 147, and PBC has held a tight reign on 147 for a good number of years. I agree with that assessment.
Right.
So Thrill's suggestion, and I heard it first with him, just to be clear, a long time ago, for him to sign with Mayweather, it's just the name recognition alone is going to garner the attention that he needs. Nobody doubts that. I just don't know how those two fellas going to get along. I just see, you know how, like, I'm trying to think of the worst, like, enemies. Not that they're enemies, but their characters is such a way,
their
you know,
personalities don't match.
It's going to cause friction, because Floyd going to beat Floyd, and Bud going to beat Bud, and them men are prideful men. They're not bending, and them two, the way they are, I don't, you know, maybe they get together and sign, and maybe they get through one fight, but when the next fight come around, they at each other's throats, and all hell break loose, you know?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I don't know who Bud's manager is, but I know Bud is close to Shakur Stevenson, and Shakur Stevenson's manager is James Prince, and Floyd Mayweather does not want to go anywhere near James Prince. So if Bud has any association with James Prince, forget about signing with Mayweather Promotions. Mayweather does not want to know about James Prince.
Well, I don't think Bud want a daddy. You know what I'm saying? And if you look at how Mayweather, can you hear me?
I barely hear you. I'm struggling. I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. I don't think Bud. I don't think Bud want a daddy. You know, and when I say a daddy, if you look at how Mayweather is with Tank, you know, and so it's if Bud look at that like, okay, I'm a grown ass man, so I'm gonna handle my affairs. So I can't see that.
I agree.
Right.
I think he's better off, like you said, he's better off signing with PBC and Al Heyman, honestly.
But
Yeah, but the
I'll
problem
him be
is
one of
why he
those.
doesn't sign with the PBC is the PBC has never offered him a deal. Right to this day, he fought for Top Rank for 11 years. 3 times he signed with Bob Arum. During those times, you can't find one shred of evidence where the PBC ever offered Bud a contract. And there was a lot of people saying they just need to get Bob Arum out of the way. Bob Arum's the problem. Many people like myself said Bob Arum's not the problem. He got more to do with this fight coming off than he does with the fight not coming off. But people wanted to blame Bob Arum, but Arum's been out of the picture for quite a while now, and the PBC has still not made Crawford a deal. If they offered Crawford a 3-fight deal, we would have heard about it. We would have heard about it. We would know about it. But Mayweather was asked one time back when Andre Ward was having promotional problems. Andre Ward had promotional problems throughout most of his career, and at one point he was having pretty bad promotional problems. It was keeping him away from boxing. And Andre Ward was a great fighter, but he, again, like Bud, wasn't very popular. He couldn't sell. Interviewer asked Floyd Mayweather, "What about you, Floyd? You're a promoter now. Dre needs he's looking for a promoter. He's having problems." Floyd didn't answer the question. He kind of stepped around it. And the guy asked him again. And Floyd sat there for a minute and he said, "You know what? Floyd Mayweather Promotions is not built to take losses." That's what he said. He said,
but Jared, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Jared.
Let me finish right quick.
Okay. All right.
He said, we're not built to take losses. But Crawford, and I know it's a hard pill for people to swallow, but the bottom line is, just like we were talking, there's a value that you have that these financiers are going to put on you, and then there's the value that you think you have. And when those things are too far off, you're not going to get a promoter to offer you a multi-fight deal. If they don't see something in your pay-per-view history that says, "Hey, this guy's a moneymaker, he's an earner, or at least a relatively good earner," especially a veteran like Crawford, because if he was an earner, he would have been it by now. They're not going to offer you a multi-fight deal. They can't even make this one fight that is so highly anticipated. How the hell are they going to make 2 more fights, especially if he loses this
match? Here's the thing, Jerry. Floyd Mayweather is on record. We've seen coming out his own mouth. He wants to sign Bud. So that's number one. So he don't see Bud as the loss. Number 2, you have made a statement, and I agree with you. But I just want to get your take on it. When you said we don't hear nothing about PBC ever offering Bud a contract. Oh, but we do, because there's a lot of content creators who have said that PBC offered Bud the 3 deal. I know you heard this extraordinary.
Yeah, I
PBC
did.
offered him 3 deal or 2 deal. So, Jared, from your take, were they lying?
Never heard it. If they would have offered him a 3-fight deal, it would have been widely reported. Not as somebody speculating. It just would have been widely reported. We live in a media.
Jared, wrap your mind on what I'm saying. What I'm saying, Jared, you went out for the tangent. You missed what I was saying. There are actual YouTube content creators who have said, and I'm not, listen, I agree with you, Jerry. So just so you know, but they said PBC, and I mean for years. Am I lying, extra?
Nope, you're not. I hear the same thing.
I'm asking Jared just to put his thumb on the scale. Were they lying?
It would be widely known. It would be widely known.
So Jared's saying they were lying.
It was widely known when Crawford signed each time with Top Rank. It was widely known how many fights it was. These things get reported on.
Jared, we know.
They've never offered Crawford a deal.
Jared, we know you basically saying they lying. That's what we saying. Jared, I'm challenging him. Jared, no, I'm saying you basically saying they lying. I'm just telling you that's the word that they've been putting out for 2 years.
Well, I'm telling you that they've never offered him a deal. They've never offered him a deal.
Jared, we all on the same page with that. Extra, what's up?
Never have they done it. If you can provide a link from somebody at PBC, any type of even halfway solid proof from someone at the PBC that they offered him a 3-fight deal, then I'll go along with it.
Jared, it always come out that it's a lie.
I read up on boxing every day.
Jared,
I get on YouTube every day. Never have I seen.
Jared, let me ask you a question.
They can't make one fight deal with them.
Jared,
one fight, and it's the most anticipated fight in boxing.
Jared, you listen to our point.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Jerry. Okay, so do we I mean, it was reported that Bob felt some type of way, or he felt threatened for some type of reason. It was reported that PBC was trying to have discussions with Bud at one point about this whole thing, but we gonna throw that out. Now, do you remember the reports when he came out and he said, Aaron said, "Oh, I could buy with the money I'm losing on Crawford, I could purchase me a home and what the fuck he said? What he could purchase him a home and all
Beverly
that stuff."
Hills.
Okay. But that same man that said that's bullshit about Crawford, when Crawford walked away, he was still trying to. Why was he still trying to re-sign Crawford if he was losing money with Crawford? He was putting out those bad reports on Crawford. He was putting out those bad reports on Crawford because he didn't want nobody else to
People
want
just
him.
assume that Bud Crawford left Bob Arum, but what you don't
What
know
he
is
said
Bob
on the stage.
offered another contract. If he had offered him another contract, we would have heard about it. Arum offers Crawford
What you
3-fight
think, Taco?
extension. Arum offered Crawford a 3-fight deal to resign. You didn't hear about it because it didn't happen. They mutually split ways. Crawford wasn't happy.
It wasn't a mutual split ways. Well, Aaron wasn't even under the. He was shocked when Crawford said, "I'm done. He cannot get me this fight with Spence."
All right, you guys have a good evening. I'm heading out, actually.
All right, Taco. Thank you
It
for
was a pleasure.
stopping by. Don't be a stranger. Good info.
All right.
Good info.
When everything started to go south between Bob Arum and Bud Crawford, one of the last things Bob Arum said was, the question isn't, is he going to resign with us? The question is do we want to resign him? In the end, they weren't happy.
Man, we saw how Crawford left him looking on his stage.
We saw gas on his face.
We all saw that.
Well, if you want to make an assumption there,
it wasn't an assumption, Jerry. It was what happened. You want to pull the footage?
Contract. If there was, it would have been heard about, just like it's always, just like the other three were heard about. They mutually split. This happens in boxing.
Okay.
I could give you a bunch of cases where promoters and fighters have had fallen out, and it didn't always work. Sometimes it works beautifully. Sometimes it doesn't work. And so, in the end, I think Bud Crawford had it real good with Bob Arum. And his last fight, I understand, against Porter, he got $6 million guaranteed. That's $6 million. Now, when Steven Espinoza spoke about this potential fight with Errol Spence, they said Bud's going to have to take a pay cut. So you're telling me the money that Bob Arum was paying Bud Crawford, which was all good purses, $4, $5, $6 million purses, you're going to have to take a pay cut from that guaranteed money, even though he's fighting in a fight that's bigger than any of those fights that he fought for Bob Arum.
I'm here. I just try to pull up this press conference so I can show Jerry. Yesterday, my shit was not working. I don't know why, but so this is not my content.
In the end, we all want the fight to take place. We're not in charge of the economics, but it's starting to look like that there's fundamental problems with the financing of the fight. If the promoters thought they could make money on the fight, they got no reason not to make the fight. I know you say you don't think they want that fight for Spence, but I think they do. I think Spence wants it, and I think they want it.
Yeah, I think Spence want it. I think Spence want it, but I just don't think Al want it. I think Spence want it, but I don't think Al want it, because I think his thinking is, okay, what happens when Crawford wins and all the belts are gone? I mean, like, I definitely think Spence want it. I'm not gonna say Spence is. I'm not the crowd. I'm not of the crowd that say Spence is ducking Crawford. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, for a certain amount of time, I was one of the ones saying, okay, Spence look like he's ducking. But right now, I think he do want that fight. But I just don't think Al want that fight. And as much as we want to say Spence control his own destiny, he don't.
No, none of those guys do, except for the very top guys. The rest of them got to do what the promoters say. But you got to think, too, PBC, the other caller made a point about how they've had a lock on the welterweight division over the last several years. Well, to a degree, they have, minus Bud Crawford. But Danny Garcia's moved up. Sean Porter retired. Spence has already said he's moving up to 54 sooner rather than later, and anyone can look at Spence and see that he can't stay at 47 much longer. So they really ain't going to have really much going on at 47 know-how, even if Bud was to win against Spence.
Let me interject, you guys. Let me interject. I do not own the rights to this program. It's for educational purposes. YouTube, don't hear me off. I'm just showing, as Crawford said, at the post-conference, press conference after the Porter fight. And that's all.
The Spence fight when I was with him. So how you gonna secure me the Spence fight when I'm not with him? So, I'm moving forward with my career right now, and I wish everybody the best.
Bob,
there you go.
Jared, that don't look like mutual to me, Jared.
I just showed the snippet.
Jared, that don't look like mutual.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that when Crawford said it. But do you honestly think that he hadn't told Bob that? You think that's the first time Aaron and him had a meeting where they knew they weren't seeing eye to eye any longer?
Well, Jared, I would tell you what I honestly think. I think that promoters and businessmen are smart. That they're gonna hedge their bet. They're gonna be talking to you way before that time comes. And I think it is reasonable for a business person to think that, well, wait a minute, it's 6 months before our end of our contract. They haven't signed it. So as time get closer and closer to the end, you're gonna think as that promoter, they must not gonna be signing with us. But you never know till the very end. But that was essentially Crawford firing him and basically letting him know. I don't think Crawford said shit to him.
I don't think no, because Aaron would have never been on that stage.
You think that's the first time right there and that culture that they realized that they weren't seeing eye to eye after working together for 11 years?
Bob knew, and he was hedging his bet. He was hoping.
He was hoping it, right.
And I think Crawford knew that he wasn't going to sign with him. But I don't think Crawford shared that with him until the day of. Once the deed was done, Crawford was like, look here, I'm done.
That's what I think.
I would bet everything I own that that's not the case. They had meetings and they knew that things were, the public knew, because it had been going on for about a year before the end where things fell apart, and you could see it fell apart. Bob was no longer talking good about Terrence. Terrence was no longer talking good about Bob. For the 10 years prior, they worked together reasonably well. You never heard anything, but it started to fall apart. This happens in boxing, and what can you do? It happened with Mikey Garcia and Bob Arum. Al Heyman, Regis Progress, has left the PBC, and he got very little good to say about how he was treated when he was. There's a million examples with fighters and promoters having a falling out, and they had one. What can you do? Bud moved on with his career, but things don't look like they're working out so well for Bud Crawford right now.
But to me, they do, because, like I said, a lot of people don't want to accept that he's signed with Box and Bally Sports. People have shown him.
That hasn't added up to anything.
I get it, Jerry. You haven't seen it, but you might could do a Google search. That's what he would now. Bud is not hurting. Everybody want to play him to the left and all that. And Bud plays the wall. He don't get excited. He don't say anything. Bud is not a dumb man. He's smart. Everybody was calling him dumb at Top Rank. He was making more money than any other welterweight and guaranteed person. I don't know about back end, but guaranteed. So
he certainly was. He had it good with Bob Arum. That's the truth.
But then, Bob, look how you act. If a motherfucker don't want to play with you, why is it the next move to put him down? I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. That shit he pulled at the Kell Brook fight, that was just uncalled for. That shit was ridiculous. But he wanted to do it. That's how dirty and grimy Bob can be.
And you see how he was over there, and people. He's supposed to be Bud's promoter, right? He's supposed to be the promoter and right. But you'll see Lomachenko posters and all that stuff up at Bud fights. You'll see Tyson Fury. You'll see all that shit going on at Bud fights, but you never see Bud stuff at other people fights. Things of that.
Well, have
things
you
of
ever
that
seen
nature.
Lomachenko's purses? They're about a third of what Bud gets. Yeah, Loma got like $2 million to fight Lopez. That was a big magnification. Lomachenko is far down the scale below Bud at Top Rank. Bud was the highest paid fighter at Top Rank
Because Bud stood on his
was getting good
square.
money.
Because Bud stood on his square. And you cannot say, now I'm not using this as an excuse. It's no excuse. He had a pay-per-view on that ragged ass app as far as I'm concerned. But it's no excuse. But you can clearly say, if you're saying businessmen are businessmen, it would have been more advantageous to Top Rank to put him on regular ESPN pay-per-view like he did Tyson.
Yep.
He would have
which
made more.
they did 2 other times. You keep leaving that out. They put him on pay-per-view 2 other times on regular ESPN, and they did worse.
Should have kept him. No, that was probably earlier in his career. I'm talking Bud in the latter part of his career. If they'd have put the Porter fight on the witch collar, I have to believe, and I don't have no proof, but I have to believe that it would have done at least better. I ain't saying 500,000 more.
What did the fight with Amir Khan do? Amir Khan's a big name.
Amir Khan and them was on regular ESPN, and I think
sold horribly.
I think no. I don't know if that was. I don't remember if that was pay-per-view, but I think Amir Khan was it. Now we have to look that up, but I think ESPN said that Bud had the most viewership, like a free fight, more than anybody else. So if they came for the free fight, and they was talking millions, so if 3 million or more came for a free fight, you can say at least that over 500,000 would have came to pay. At least that.
200,000 pay-per-views, Khan versus Crawford. That's what it was.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it was break-even point, 150,000, 69.99. Yeah, 200,000. That's what it says.
Big Chop Unbiased Boxing is in the building. He said lightweights make less money, welterweights unless you're a superstar. Do that. But that's all we're saying. You know, the way he treated, but like that whole fiasco at the Kell Brook fight, I don't know why any promoter would ever say that. And yes, Bob did want to orchestrate a fight with Josh Taylor and Bud after Bud fired him. He did want. He showed the interest. You see him say it out his mouth. You see him advocate out his mouth. You talking Bob?
Yeah, out his mouth he said this, and this is what he said exactly. I think the biggest fight for Terrence is to fight Josh Taylor. You're just jumping that to, but he wanted to sign Bud Crawford. He promotes Josh Taylor. So he has the interest right there built in to get Josh Taylor a belt at 47
but
because
Bud lose money for him.
That's where he wants to move to. But Bud Crawford also 3 months ago was in Bob Arum's top-ranked gym, hanging out with his buddy Shakur Stevenson. There's a guy that got a lawsuit against Bob Arum, claiming that he racially discriminated against them, breached the contract, misrepresented the terms of the contract, sued him for $11 million. But yet, he's in Bob Arum's gym.
But that's not what the lawsuit is, Jerry. Don't put that out.
I read what the lawsuit
is.
The
lawsuit is about breach of contract, Jerry. It's not about racial bias.
It says racial discrimination on the first page, so we can't just roll that out.
The charges, we have to go by the charges. That is not one of the charges.
Itemize what the breaches of the contract were. But we can't eliminate the race part. It's right on the first page. There's defamation in there. There's breach of contract, breach of agreement to contract, outstanding money. He's claiming that Bob owes him money for contractual agreements. So there's certainly all kinds of things in there, but that's in there also. But my point is, what was he doing in Bob Arum's gym? That's the top-ranked gym where Stevenson was training.
Now I ask you this, Jerry. Did Bud shine on Bob in a bad way? He just fired him, but did he do it nasty? Like Bob did
I don't know
him?
that he fired him.
Did he do it nasty, Jerry? Or did he do it respectfully? Was he respectful to Bob? Did he say any disparaging words to Bob? Did he try to make Bob belittle Bob in public? Bob did it to him, but he didn't do it to him. Bud didn't do it to Bob, but Bob
I've
did
seen
it
their
to
relationship falling apart for about a year. You could see it in the way that they started talking about each other. And they both didn't have good things to say about each other, and that's not the first time.
Well,
But
I see
really,
one side.
but really, it's history now.
Yeah.
And there's the thing: the people that were blaming Aram can't blame Aram anymore. Aram's not in the picture now. Now it's the brothers over at PBC,
Well,
and they can't make a fight either.
Hey,
Yeah, that's true.
Jerry. When all this report was made, when Bob was saying all that about Bud, where he can build a house and all that stuff with the money that he's losing on Bud. Only thing that Bud said, his response for it, and you can go back and pull this video, because he said that's the only thing he had to say. He said, "Well, if you feel that way about it, just let me go. Just let me go." He never said anything else bad about it. He never said, F Bud, fuck Bud, I mean not fuck Bud, Bob or nothing like that. He just said, if that's the way he feel about it, then just let me go. Won't he just let me out my contract? Release me out my contract.
That's exactly what happened. He
But
finished
Bob,
his one fight.
No.
He had one fight left, and he got the fight that he wanted, which was
And he
Porter.
fulfilled his,
And that was that.
he honored his contract. Bob didn't.
Yep.
Big Chop, unbiased boxer, said Bud versus Khan was Bud first pay-per-view because Bud can't sell, and the UK bought at least half of those pay-per-view. What's up, Miss T? Well, Big Chop, that may be true. That may be not true, because unless you break your records, there's no accurate account. We don't know where the pay-per-views came from. There's no way to count that. We just know how much, what they want to tell us. There's no accuracy with 100% guarantee unless you break your numbers. Everybody knows that. So we
I don't know
can't say.
that, but it's safe to say that we're not the ones counting the pay-per-views, but
Yeah, we're not.
We use these numbers for everybody else, and we take them at face value.
That's why I
no
said.
reason not to take these at face value either.
Well, hold on. What did I just say? I said that may be true. I said, but there's no accurate way to count that, so we can't offer it up as facts. All we can say is how much they told us that it made. I'm gonna go by what the tally is in the end, because unless you break your numbers, nobody is counting with no 100% accuracy. But I will take the number, the total number that they say. Now, as far as where it came from and who did what and all this stuff, maybe the UK fans did, show out for Bud more. Maybe that's why he showed his appreciation, where he got slammed for that just by saying thank you and I appreciate you and all that, this, that, and the other. It's just crazy how they fashion Bud.
Who slammed them for that?
No, I'm not blaming. And I'm not blaming nobody else. I'm telling you how I see it.
He got slammed for thanking the European fans.
Yeah, he got slammed for that. Bud did. Because, and I didn't understand that, because, a lot of people felt like, why you going, I don't know what that was about. But if people show you kindness, you can't say thank you. I don't care what color person is. If you show me kindness, thank you. I appreciate you. I really do.
That's why I'm asking you, who got on for that? I didn't hear anything.
Jared,
about
yeah,
that.
you didn't. You probably don't look at a lot of YouTube content creators, or maybe you wasn't looking at it
I look
around
at
that time.
Shit ton of them.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe you missed that because that was all over the place. Extra, am I lying? Extra.
Yeah, I missed that.
Extra. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. He dropped out, but I'm not lying about that, Bob. I mean, Jared, I can call you Bob. I'm not lying about that. A lot of people felt like, and they had that right to feel that way, but I didn't feel that way. I felt it as he thanked them or whatever. He showed his appreciation. So be it. If they want to give him shine and they want to show him appreciation rather than others who don't want to show him appreciation, for 2 years straight, Jerry, since I've been watching YouTube for like the past 2.5 years, right? So I'm going into the third year.
Longer than that.
Into the third year. I'm talking about all these. I've been around or whatever, and I sit there and I watch for that first year and a half, almost 2 years of just bashing the Bud, just bashing. I never said nothing because everybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't get mad at that. I just never agreed with it. But again, I'm just simple, just being a human being. If somebody shows you a kindness, then hey, what you supposed to do? You're supposed to show them kindness back. It's simple to me.
I mean, you're not going to get no pushback from me on something like that. I haven't heard about that. But just to wrap up with Aram and Crawford, their relationship as a business partners went south. After 11 years, it went south, and this happens. Now, Bob Aram's promoted some of the most legendary fighters in boxing throughout their careers, like George Foreman, Ray Leonard. He promoted the Thriller in Manila. I mean, just the biggest and most historic fights almost always have Bob Arum in there somewhere. It's a lot of success stories. A lot of fighters made millionaires several times over. And then there's going to be fighters where it didn't work out. And PBC, they haven't been at it that long, but already Regis Progress left, Mickey Bay left. This girl that's about to fight Shields here used to be signed with the PBC, and she left, Savannah Marshall. That's how it goes. That's how it goes. It doesn't always work out. And sometimes it takes a good while to figure out that it's not going to work out any further. And that's probably what happened there with Bud and Arum. But for 10 years, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get this chat. Big Chop Unbiased Boxing, because as you know, I always like to pay attention to my chat. Come on, Miss T. That's what Bud fans say because his numbers are bad. Also, Bud fans use the same argument for EJ pay-per-view numbers, but trying to make it less for their argument. Men lie, women lie. Numbers don't. Big Chop, I'm agreeing with you that he got some shine from the UK. I'm saying there's no way, unless you break in numbers, there's no 100% accuracy as to where they came from and how much it really was. I'm telling you, there is a possibility they could tell us whatever numbers. I accept the numbers though. I'm just telling you that I accept it. You say Bud made 130 with Porter, I accept it. I don't get no pushbacks. I'm rolling with it. If you say EJ made 350 with Mikey Garcia, I accept it. I don't get no pushback. He said, FYI, I love them both, EJ and Bud. They both great fighters. I hear you, King. But Jared, before we wrap it up, anything like that, I got a couple of other things I meant to say yesterday. That's why I said this is a recap. This is a correction. I stood corrected. You guys were right with the 800,000 pay-per-view buys for Canelo. And then I just wanted to make clear, because I will always be thinking about it. I just want you guys and my listeners to know where my head is at, where I come up with with things that I say, right, wrong, and different. But Jerry, let me ask you this: who the hell sold Ali's Rumble in the Jungle belt? You know it sold for $6.18 million. I don't know why somebody sold it. I don't know if it was a family member who had that belt and they sold it, but it is just sold at auction for 6.18 million. The guy who bought it is named Jim Irsay. He's the owner of an NFL team, Indianapolis Colts. It was a WBC belt, October 30th, 1974, with George Foreman out of Zaire. It attracted 110 bids, like 110 people wanted to get it. It closed at 4 a.m. I guess this past Sunday. And the dude got the shoes he wore in 1975, Thriller in Manila. And the dude also got the robe he walked in to the fight against Sonny Liston in 1965. And so collectively, with those three items, he got about $110 million worth of artifacts. Who the hell sold Ali belt, Jared? What you think about that?
Ali's estate is Ali, is an icon, right? He's an American icon, like Elvis Presley or Marilyn Monroe to a lesser degree, or any one of the icons. Ali transcended sports. He was, Time magazine said he was the most well-known name in the world. Imagine that. All the world leaders, all the important people in the world, and an American fighter transcended all of that, and at one time was the most known person in the world by name recognition. That's saying something. Plus, Ali was at the forefront of the civil rights movement, and everybody knows his defiance for the Vietnam War. So he was very much an icon. And it just goes to show his estate. Now, you don't know who had that belt. It either came from his estate, meaning his family, who are still benefiting richly off of the Ali dynasty, what you could easily call a dynasty, no different than Michael Jackson was another good example. So I'm not surprised. If you think about that fight. I mean, that fight is probably the most well-known fight in boxing history, with the the most well-known athlete and person in the history of the world. I mean, it's just I'm surprised it didn't sell for even more money, because that's the actual belt from that fight. And if he had the trunks and the boots too, man, please, them rich people, that's what rich people do.
I know.
Yeah.
Right, but my thing is, who was selling? He got the robe from the Sonny Liston fight, but he got the shoes for the Thriller in Manila in '75. So I mean, just collectively, that's how much his collection is worth from the Ali thing. The dude got a lot of collections. Like you said, that's what rich people do. My question was, who in the hell sold that shit? Wouldn't that belt have gone to his family member?
Well, I'm sure that it was in the possession of of Ali and his family member for some time, and it may have been even when it went to auction, or they may have sold it privately a while ago. You don't know. They could have sold it to an investor or a collector, or it could have been them that put it up for auction. They maybe still had it. I know they sold the rights, his publishing rights, a while ago now, for like $86 million. That was back when when Layla Ali was still fighting. It was right after she retired. About a year later, the family sold Ali's publishing rights. That's for movies and shit like that, and he used his image. But it wasn't even all of it. It was like a percentage of it. It was like a 60 or 70% of his publishing. So Ali's his estate, if you will, probably generating more money now than he made as an active fighter, even though he was very well paid fighter throughout most of his career. Just back then, the money, fighters, even well paid fighters, didn't get what they get now. But his estate, as you can see, the maturation of it, it's still collecting big dividends, just like Elvis Presley's estate still makes millions and millions of dollars every year. So
I wonder about that. Do Elvis get new fans? Because then you think about it like this: as time wear on, and not being, I'm being saying this respectfully, as time wear on, the people who was into his music, have they, because they're gonna move on, transition, to heaven and everything. Do people still have an interest? But I will say Elvis Presley probably has been so commercialized. Maybe that's what keeps it going.
Well, he was icon status for a lot of Americans, and there's just a movie. There's a movie out right now about Elvis that they just made just recently. And a girlfriend I went to high school with was putting on Facebook how she went and seen it, her and her sisters, because their mother loved Elvis and this and that. And yeah, so Elvis is another icon. I don't know if Time Magazine said Ali was the most recognizable name in the world, in like any country. So that's a easily icon, because he transcended boxing and sports for many different reasons. Yeah. So they still making plenty of money off of his estate, but you'd be surprised to learn Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, believe it or not, people, anyone who reached the icon status, and to a lesser degree, other icons like, of course, Michael Jackson. I mean, you don't think people just not buying Michael Jackson?
Oh, he got more popular after he died, like especially with the younger generation.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my kid was a little kid, and she loved some Michael Jackson. I'm like, when did you get into him?
Yeah, I mean, shit. I mean, they and what's really become popular, and I think they did this a while ago with Michael Jackson's catalog, but a lot of these well-established, recording artists sell the rights to their music. Like, I think Paul McCartney recently sold his for like almost $1 billion. Jimmy Buffett, which is another guy, he sold his for $400 or $500 million. Yeah, these guys are getting way more money, now than what they ever made, during their careers.
Sound like I would rather be a writer than the singer. Let me get this chat from Big Chop. He said, I'm unbiased, but I'm geographical. My guys are Jerron Ennis, Julian Williams, Danny Garcia, Stephen Fulton, Philly. Stand up. my favorite might be Tank right now because I think his skills is on another level. And that's a good segue, Big Chop. So speaking of Tank, I'm gonna hit this up with Jared too. Tank gives insight to why he ain't pressed about nothing Ryan Garcia says these days, basically saying dude is a liar. And they they pay him a lot and make him out to be this huge, guy or star or whatever. I'm saying because he's pretty, like I'm saying, and not Tank. I'm saying, is it because he's pretty? That's the question I have. Tank is so we clear. Tank ain't saying because he's pretty. That was what Miss T said. Tank's a fighter. I'm sure he wonders why. And Ryan is the big kahuna as he is. Ryan knows, and it doesn't have anything to do with boxing. How we know? Because he hasn't accomplished shit in boxing. But Tank is like, if you're wondering why Tank is not really saying much, about Ryan or anything, it's because you never know with Ryan. You really don't know. He really trying to play that social media edge or that media edge, and you can't put a thumb on him. Really don't know what he talking about. What he about? Is he serious? Is he gonna do the fight? And that's why if y'all wondering, which some of you maybe not, why Tank don't really act like he pressed for Ryan. That's why. And Taya said Tank fans get do happy when he outboxes a C or B level fighter. So also before because I had these things I wanted to put out the other day and I forgot. So that's why I say I'm actually recapping. This is part of my recap. Let me bring this up. Get you, and then Jerry, you can speak on Tank and also this. I say, according to the legal publication of Laws360.com, Probellum has sued rival boxing promoter Boxer, that's with two X's, in British court. Also named as a defendant was Boxer's principal, Ben Shalom. We've heard about him. I don't remember who he is the promoter of, but I remember hearing about him during Kell Brook and the Amir Khan fight. I can't remember who he sided with. Probellum alleges that Boxer is requiring boxers, actual fighters, to sign a letter as a condition of appearing on Sky Sport broadcast in which the boxers pledged not to work with Probellum or the now defunct MTK Global. As the reason for the pledge, the letter references Probellum's alleged ties to international drug cartel leader Daniel Canahan, who reportedly has used boxing entities to launder drug money. Probellum asserts that the statements in Boxer's letter trying Probellum or tying Probellum to Canahan are defamatory and says the allegedly false statements contained in the letter are likely to hurt Probellum's business. And so basically that's what I'm gonna read about that. But we all know about the Daniel Canahan situation. We know some boxers like Regis Prograis has signed with Probellum. And it's almost like Probellum gonna be knocked down before they can even get off. So Jerry, I just talked about Tank and Probellum. What you think about it?
I don't know much about it. I heard Bud Crawford was talking with Probellum as a potential promoter about 4 or 5 months ago. Clearly that didn't work out, or we would have heard about it. I didn't know Regis Progress was signed with them, but I don't know. I don't know. What does it say? They're involved in drug dealing? Is that what it says? Because I can't see
Oh,
it.
you might not have seen. Well, I'll just catch you up. So he's like El Chapo, kind of like for the European region or whatever. Him and his family is supposed to be cartel, but he's a fan of boxing apparently. He likes to put his hand in boxing, and he wouldn't be the first criminal entity that puts their hand in boxing. And maybe he uses boxing to launder money. Who knows? He do a lot of work, I guess, or he's supposed to be residing now, Saudi Arabia or somewhere over there in the Middle East, where they don't have extraditing treaties. Where that the Irish police, I know, and Interpol and motherfucking America, really, Department of Treasury and Homeland Security got a problem with him. Matter of fact, they sanctioning the fuck out of anything this dude doing. And they put out a warning months ago, Jerry, that if you have any ties to this guy, you need to back the fuck up off him and sever ties. So it's not like the guy, if let's say he had a contract with somebody, you could just straight get out that contract. The guy has no recourse to get, to get you because you got out that contract because America is looking, they put a bounty on him, $5
Yeah,
million
sounds like
dollars
he's
for
going to be
anybody
in
who can
jail.
lead to the
So
rest, correct,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Eventually.
Sucks for Regis Progress. I like Regis Progress. His career has gotten off track since the Josh Taylor loss and the split with PBC. I was hoping that he maybe could have got with Dazin, because Dazin will overpay fighters, and I like Regis, and I want to see Regis be successful. And I thought that fight with Josh Taylor was very close.
I thought
Very
Regis
close.
won it.
Yeah, I thought if that fight was in the States, Regis might have got the decision in that fight. I don't know. It was just a close fight. I like him. I was hoping the best for him. So it sucks for him that he landed a deal, and now it looks like it's going to go south. That's going to put him out on the streets again. And
yeah. You remember what happened with him and Mikey Garcia? Mikey chose Sandoval Martinez or Sandoval Martin or whatever that guy was, the unknown. Not saying he ain't nobody. He was unknown to us out of Spain. And the guy beat him handily. So that didn't work out for Mikey Garcia. But he welched on Regis. A couple of people, Mario Barrios welched on Regis. I always think that Regis, I don't know if he's staying at 140 too long. That's his thing. That's
yeah,
his
but
thing.
Regis, I've heard him talk about the Barrios fight, and it wasn't. He said he blames PBC. He doesn't blame Barrios. He says the PBC promised him that fight, and that's why he don't fight for the PBC no longer. But once they seen how vulnerable Barrios looked in his fight right prior to fighting Tank, because if you've seen that fight, he basically lost that fight. I mean, he looked horrible. How he retained the title in that fight, I don't know. But once they seen how bad he looked at 140, they said, well, there's a good chance for us to put Tank in there with him, the Tank, and shine his star and get that title. So he moved up to 140 to do so. But that Regis was already there, and he claimed he was promised that fight, and that's where things started to go south with him in the PBC. Underlining my point again, shit don't always work out. Shit don't always work out. And sometimes things go horribly wrong. Sometimes it works for a little while. Sometimes it works for a little longer. Sometimes things go horribly wrong. And we've seen with Tank Davis, there's that ship has been rocking a little bit lately. At least that's what they were saying. But I hope the best for Regis. I really feel like that guy's a top fighter, but
he could be though. He could be. It's like what you said. Maybe it's the movement of him, But I think with the skills, he could be. That's fucking tough.
Oh, he certainly could be, but so could Gary Russell. Despite Gary Russell's loss to Lomachenko, if they would have kept Gary active and managed his career right, he probably would be somewhere in the pound for pound top 10 list somewhere, because he's clearly got the skills, but they didn't keep him busy. They, you could argue that they really haven't matched him or promoted him well. I don't never hear him capping for Gary Russell. I feel bad for Gary, but Gary has also talked badly. He's called Mayweather a bitch, and he's talked badly about the PBC, kind of like Broner does.
Yeah, but I would tell you this: when they be talking about who's the better promoter, like people will get caught up in the promoters and managers. That's not my stick. To each his own, but that's not my stick. When they was talking about top rank, when they talk about top rank, they was like, "Oh, Bud, you stupid for." I never understood that, because one can say the same thing about all people fighters. They don't pay you that great, because we know that the zone pay you well. We know that Bud got paid good at top rank compared to PBC, and between PBC and Oscar, Oscar, I guess he giving look at the bone he's throwing Ryan and whoever he likes. But PBC, ain't nobody making a killing over there except certain fighters, which I would say Deontay, maybe Canelo for that one time. Everybody else is not. I do not believe that they paid Earl Spence right, and I would always stand by that. But so when they be talking about, like, oh, this fighter done for being with this person, y'all gotta apply that same energy to the PBC. PBC to me doesn't make the best business decisions. But who am I? And Big Chop said, at Tay, I look at Tank skills, what he doing in the ring, the footwork, lateral movements, defense punch placements, accuracy, speed, explosiveness, power. He has it all, and he's the size of 122 pounders, KO on 135 and 40. Big Chop, Tank, to my knowledge, has never fought at 122. The lowest that I think he fought was 130. But from what they say, 130, 135, 140, he hits you like a middleweight or something. I mean, this is what they say about his power. But 122, I think that's a bit of a stretch. The jury, we had 2 hours and 35 minutes. Got any final thought? Thanks for coming on, by the way. And this was a recap piece, a clarification piece, and a correction piece. That's all it was. It wasn't an extenuation of yesterday. At this point, when it comes to Bud and Spence, I'm looking and putting the blame or putting it at the feet of the empty suits, whoever they may be. They could be Al Heyman, Tim Smith, uh, Floyd Mayweather, whoever. The empty suits. You guys are getting in the way of a great fight. And I'm telling you, sometimes y'all fighters got to think about it like this. You are going to be left with your lonesome when it's all said and done. Are you going to be happy with your career? Or is it your career, or is it Floyd's career, or Al's career, or Golden Boy's career, or Eddie Hearn's career? Who career is it? Who putting in that hard work? Are you going to be happy? But I understand you got to stand on your 10 toes down. We cannot tell people what they should do and what they shouldn't do. I don't mean to be saying that. I can offer suggestions, and I can say, hey, I think maybe they should do this, that, and the other. Bud is a valuable commodity, and he feels like you got to treat him that way. And if you don't want to treat him like that way, he's a grown man. He can take it or leave it, and I'm not gonna be mad either way. But I will say to Bud, if you listening, or anybody that's close to Bud, in this situation, there's going to be blame placed out there if this fight don't happen. It's either going to be you or it's going to be Spence. I'm going to tell you, don't flinch. Don't make the first move. Because the minute, I can see this. The minute he drops that belt and go for something that he can actuate, like he can make it mandatory fight between him and what's the name, the Charlo guy. Soon as he dropped that belt, Errol gonna swoop in like a motherfucker and get that belt. And then if Charlo drop his belts, then you're just a champion. Then somehow or another, when you make the first move, they gonna capitalize off your move. So I don't know how strategic he gotta be, but I know he gonna keep his eyes and ears to the ground. I want to say welcome to the building, Yogi. What's up, Queen? She said hello, Miss T. Stopping by to say hello. What's up, Queen? Big Chop said, Ete, I disagree that he fighting C-level fighters. Even if so, he fighting the same level of every other fighters in his division and separating himself and getting them out of there. Everyone else is not. Tank is not fighting the top level fighters. I'm not saying he's scared. I'm not saying he don't want to. I'm saying what is. He is not. And we don't know why. And that's why I say I'm big on getting the championship belt, unifying your belt, and getting undisputed. After all, boxing got to have a Super Bowl too. But I've said a lot. Jerry, you got any final thoughts?
Belts don't make the champion makes the belt. A lot of times you'll have a fighter in any given division have the belt, and he's not the best fighter in the division. Kambosos is a great recent example of that. He had the belt, he wasn't close to the best fighter in the division. And when you hear people talk about boxing promoters and the business of boxing, like me, I concentrate on that a lot because I know that's who decides what fights get made. It's not the fighters. The fighters always want to fight. Of course, they want to get paid, and it's the promoters who pay them. And so, without knowing the business of boxing and not paying attention to that, you're going to really be in the dark about what fights get made. if I had my way, and if most boxing fans had their way, it would be all about the sport, just like you reference football and other sports and their championships. But the big difference there is those are organized sports where the best have to compete against the best. They have to. There's no getting out of it. It doesn't matter if one team is a big market and the other one's a small market. Doesn't matter. If that team's the best team at the end, have to play them. That's not the case in boxing. It looks like that on paper because we got all these belts and we got these rankings that are bought and paid for. But at the end of the day, if the fight doesn't make dollars, then it don't make sense. The promoters are businessmen, not going to pay for the fights. If they don't deem that the fights are going to make money, because that's just what it comes down to. Those are organized sports. Boxing is unorganized. It's always been that way. Unless there's drastic changes, some even suggest government intrusion, it's always going to be that way. And so this is why you hear me talk a lot about the promoters and stuff like that. I have no doubt that Bud Crawford wants to fight Earl Spence. And unlike the caller that was on with us earlier, I'm sure that Earl wants to fight Bud, but it's not up to them two. You see, right now it's up to the PBC. And if Bud Crawford has some type of promotion, I don't know where they're at. They could be representing him a little bit better in these negotiations. But like I say, it's up to the suits, as you would say. It's up to those empty suits whether or not we're going to get to see the fight or not. It just doesn't take place in baseball or football. They have to play the best. In boxing, we're clearly seeing with this fight that the best, it's not mandated. It's not mandated that it has to take place to a point. And even if there was a belt and there was a mandated thing, they got millions of ways of getting around that if they don't see the value in it. And I'm less optimistic today than I've ever been about this fight, especially with Keith Thurman taking that number one ranking. And plus, I know that if the fight is to take place in the fall, like I told you a week and a half ago, they're going to have to announce it before the end of July, because it takes months of logistics to put a fight like that together. Not just securing the venue, but people booking their rooms, booking their air flights. That takes months for that to be put together logistically. So if the fight's going to happen in November, they have to announce it before the end of July. Now we're getting to the end of July, and now you're seeing moves and hearing rumors all over the internet that they may move on to Keith Thurman. So I'm not feeling good about it right now. But lastly, I would ask you this: if the PBC is telling Bud Crawford, look, you want $20 million guaranteed, but we'll give you $10 million guaranteed and a percentage of the back end, do you think he should accept that or no?
I think, yeah. I mean, I personally want him to get the fight done. Yeah, it's hard for me.
I'm talking under those terms.
I know. Yeah. 20 million is a lot. That's way more than either one of them have ever made. I don't feel like it's robbery for him to take 10 million, only because, to my knowledge, he has never got a guaranteed $10 million purse. So to me, it's not a big deal to me. In the end of the day, is it a big deal to Bud? Is it a big deal to Errol? But 20 million is a lot, in my opinion. But I just say it's just my opinion. I don't say that to put my thumb on the scale and say he don't deserve that, or it's not like they don't deserve it. As I always say here, I never understand, whether it's pay-per-view or not, why Earl Spence with the PBC hasn't had a guaranteed purse of $10 million plus. I say that all the time. So I don't get it.
Let me say one thing about that I wanted to add. Just briefly, it's also been my experience that when fighters aren't happy with the money that they're getting paid, you know about it. Like Adrian Broner, you kind of hear his displeasure. Mikey Garcia, even while he was still with Aaron and Bud Crawford, they didn't like how they were getting treated, and you heard about it. I don't hear Spence complaining. I hear Spence has gotten like $6 to $10 million. That Mikey Garcia fight, I heard he got $12 million because that sold pretty good pay-per-view, and it was a big live gate for that fight. And whether he got the money guaranteed or he got it on the back end, he getting pretty good money.
That's all I can speak to, Jerry. I'm not talking about overall his happiness. I'm just saying, I'm sure he would be more happy to get a guarantee of 10 million than 1.5. I'm sure that would make him cut a jig for real, for real. I'm just saying, I just, what he is to PBC, what he has done in boxing at this point in his career, I'm just confused as to, I'm not mad. I'm not overly mad. I'm not overly happy that he not getting it. I'm just confused as to why this man ain't up to that number at this point in his career. But certainly, I believe he deserves it. That's all I was saying.
Well, like just to add to that, I got a band. We play gigs. Several of the gigs we play, they pay you a standard fee for a 5-piece band, which would typically get $600. They pay $250, and the band gets part of the door. So they have a cover charge, and the band gets a certain amount of that. And sometimes that works out in your benefit really well, and other times not so much. But like I was telling one of my bandmates, I understand why the club owners do that, because that shifts some of the liability to the band, so that the band will promote the event to get people in the door. Because after all, that's why they're hiring the band. They want to increase their business, so they hire the band, and so they'll pay a base amount, and then the rest of our money comes on the back end. I don't think there's anything new about that in the pay-per-view era. Not everybody pays guaranteed money straight up like that.
I get it, Jared. That's all I was saying. That's all I was saying.
I know,
no
but I
biggie.
just want to tell the other side of the story that right now things are now. Bob Arum, he does more of the pay per view money, but the reason being is his fights are on ESPN, and they're not pay per view. Typically, they're not pay per view fights. So, and then DAZN, they do most of the way they pay their fighters is based on what they think people will subscribe to. So yeah,
So
if you
do
look at
Showtime too.
Ryan Garcia, first off, $2 million in today's market, really not that much money, but you might say, well, that's still more than what he should be getting at this point. But they think this guy, that's what he's worth in potential subscription.
That's
They're
cool.
not just
That's
blindly
cool.
paying him they're not just blindly paying him $2 million because they like the cut of his jib. They feel that that's what they can get in return in subscribers.
The zone, but you know what? You say that about the zone. That's the same. That could be applicable to Showtime, Fox, and ESPN show commercials. So there's your endorsements and advertisement dollars right there. Let me get to some of this chats. Big Chop said, "Who is fighting top level fighters?" Let's see. I'm saying I was saying you and Tay, I think, was talking about Tank. I was saying I don't think Tank fighting top level fighters, not because he don't want to. It's how he's being moved. And in the end of the day, he's being moved for the money and not the belts and the legacy. That's all I was saying. Um, you said yes, thank you, Jerry. And Big Chop said exactly. Tank fought the best fighters on his promotional company, same as Crawford did. It's not Tank's fault, but he fought better competition than Devin Haney. First three was Loma Bryant is business. In the end of the day, the person in the 135 Big Chop that I see who's ready for the smoke and ready to get it in with any and everybody is Devin Haney. And I'm gonna name this fighter, and you guys probably don't agree, but I submit to you that I believe he's not a big name, but he's in 135 and he's on the come up. Isaac Cruz, he'll fight whoever if you put it in front of him, and it's a good deal. He's not a he's not an egotistical type person. Hey, it's a fight. He's gonna go do it. Everybody else got reasons and seasons, and that's how I see it. Whether it's their fault or their promotional
after Devin
people
won
fault,
that
I don't know.
undisputed title.
Hmm?
When you see who Devin called out, that the one name coming out of his mouth consistently after winning the undisputed title was none other than Tank Davis. And there's a reason for that, because that's where the money's at. Legacy is for fans to
But
talk
name
about. Devin
any
Haney wants the money too.
name. Yeah,
That's why he
I'm
wants to
not
fight.
saying he don't, Jared, but name 135 pounder that Devin has shied away from fighting for whatever reason. If you was considered the top, whether it's for the money, for the belts, we know how important the belts were to him. Because look what he just did. But name me one fighter in the 135 division that's at the top echelon or the top 10 that he's shying away from or acting like,
There
nah,
is
that's
none.
not the way to
He's
go.
a hungry fighter. You're
There you
not going to
go.
have me. You're not going to hear me say that he's ducking anybody. These guys don't duck folks. The promoters do.
He got a
Just like
healthy.
you're saying with Tank Davis.
Mhm.
Tank Davis ain't afraid to fight Devin Haney. I'm sure he's not afraid. But his promoter and the people that guide his career, they don't see a big value in that fight. They see more value in fighting Ryan Garcia.
But
This
the
has
fighter
been going on
himself,
throughout the history of boxing.
I don't know. Devin is one of the youngest ones. He ain't. I don't know if he's the youngest, but somehow he got it in him. He got the fortitude in him, within him, to have a healthy balance. He goes for the money. True, all of them do. It's prize fighting, but he also go for the glory too. The legacy of it all. He has a healthy balance. I cannot say that right now, and I like Tank. Tank is one of my favorites. I don't see that in Tank. I definitely do not see that in Ryan. Lomo, Lomo might have a healthy balance because he wants the glory, but I'm sure he wants to get paid. As you say, he got endorsements. He happy with how his life is going. He's another one that I put same category as Devin. Got to me as a boxing fan, how I want to see it. You guys can feel how you want and see how you want. I need that healthy balance. That's all. Am I gonna
It's
get it? Probably
usually,
not. I
yeah,
take
I
that.
get it. I get it. It's usually the fighters that are the lesser popular fighters who pay more credence to the belts. Oftentimes, the more popular the fighter, the less, and they'll even tell you, like I've heard Tank Davis say, and Ellerby about when they talk about they don't really care about the belts. Ryan Garcia has said it. Mayweather has said it. But when you're a popular fighter, you kind of have the leverage of saying that. When you're an unpopular fighter, you're more defined by the belts, and the belts will help you get to the money a little bit better. And that's largely why they're there. Because let's face it, we don't need four champions in any given division in boxing. That muddies the water, and it makes it hard for people to follow the sport, and you don't know who the champion is. But there's four champions in there because there's money involved with having them belts, especially if you're not a popular fighter based on whatever reason. Tank's popular because he gets a lot of knockouts and he appeals to a younger generation, and that's his angle. Ryan Garcia might have a level of popularity for other reasons, his looks and maybe his Instagram followers, and plus, but you got to consider too. Ryan Garcia had a pretty long amateur career, and he beat a lot of good fighters in the amateurs, and he hasn't won one of these little titles yet. But to me, that's not going to stop him from getting big fights. And Devin Haney himself has talked about fighting Ryan, and he also talks very good about Ryan because he knows him. He fought him several times in the amateurs, and you will not hear Devin Haney discredit Ryan Garcia from a skill perspective. I've heard him talk very fondly of what Ryan can do. And vice versa. Ryan said Devin is the best fighter in the division. That's what Ryan said.
Obviously, he's gonna be the guy. They want him to be the guy. That's how I look at it. Promoters and networks made it even worse. They don't work with each other until the money right. Tank don't have to call people out because he's already selling out everybody else. At the end of the day, you guys, fighting when it comes to animals is primal. We humans will always be into fighting just like any other animal. Matter of fact, if you want to just prove that point, look at baby animals. They always wrestle and fight. It's just innate in us. And so we will always kind of be interesting. I'm gonna tell you that you guys are messing it up and y'all gonna fall off and it's gonna be that. I'm saying even though we like a good scrap, I guess we're gonna have to rely on World Star That's why people like Kimbo Slice versus So was popular like he did. He finally had a medium to do it his way. Because I'm sure he wasn't getting a fair shake. Maybe he did try to get into boxing or MMA or whatever. He probably wasn't getting a fair shake. But look what he made of himself just by doing it on TV. People gonna find a way. And like I said, you got worlds out there showing these real scraps, like real emotional scraps, which I don't agree with. I think it's innate in us to like fighting, but I think we got to be responsible and intelligent about it. That's what boxing offered, and so destroying it with all this hoopla. We don't pay to see you talking to the empty seat. We don't care what you doing in your life. You know what I'm saying? You're getting in the way of what we really are interested. If you don't care about that, then you do so at your own apparel. You may say we always gonna make money, but I'm letting, just so y'all know, I'm letting my cable go. I would have never done that in a million years, but it's no sense in me paying for cable. I don't look at it anyway. I only kept it for boxing. So there you have it. A lot of people letting that cable go. And this is why y'all have a problem. Because y'all are not making it interesting talking empty suits when I say y'all. Jerry, it's almost at 3 hours. I normally try to just do 2 or less. Thank you, Jerry, for coming in. Let me make sure I get everybody chat. Big
Thank
Chop said
you.
it's fighters that at 118 and 154 using tech name to build their name. If it's about sparring, call outs, whatever, to get noticed. Come on, Miss T. The fighters know what they be doing unless you on the same side is cap. Yeah, they use, and I complain about that, Big Chop. I'm not sure if you come here all the time. That's the one biggest thing about Ryan Garcia that I cannot stand. I even tried to bait him and talk about him negatively, which if you guys watch my show, I don't belittle or devalue anybody. That's not the business for me. I
You
don't get
sure was
off on
hating
that
on his
shit.
ass because I listened to that show.
You listen to that show. I went in, didn't I? Didn't I, Jerry?
Yeah.
I went that is uncommon for me.
Unfairly, really.
Listen, I went in because I it was a purpose. I was baiting him. And it was so unlike me, you know what I'm saying? But this shit where he be using folks' name, he keep going back to the same play, but it drives me ape shit. Like you want to know what make my blood boil at this moment in boxing? That is one of them. And he does this all the time. I even tried embarrassing him, like saying, "Oh, you're proposing marriage," because you know how Jerry in our day, if we get married, I'd be like, I'm Mrs. So and so. I'll say the man's name. Like if I married you, Jerry, I'd be like, I'm Mrs. Jerry Tasker. Well, I got a whole fucking name, but I want you to know me as him because I want you to give me the rights and privileges and all the accolades that he himself garnished because that's my husband. That's what women did back in the day. That's customary. I ain't saying you got to be etched in the stone today because people evolve, but I'm saying that's how he said. When I hear him bring up Tank, I'm like, are you asking him to marry him? I'm thinking you say that to another dude or about a man, he gonna be like, hell no, nah, if that's what it looked like, let me pull back. That don't pull him back. So that whole show that I did on Ryan Garcia, I purposely try to bait him because they always saying that his fans are actual boxing fans. And they use his fans and his followers as a reason to justify everything about his boxing career in the good way, like him getting paid. I'm happy he gets his money. I like Jerry said, anybody who can get money, we happy for them. But he uses those 8 million followers. And I said, what if I go in on his ass? How many of them gonna run over here? Because you know who you can't do that to? You can't do it to Nicki Minaj. You can't do it to Beyonce. You can't do it to hardly anybody and talk about their fans like that and they don't got nothing to say. 8 million people. How many people came over? Maybe 1 or 2. 8 million
Yeah,
people. So that's
see, to
telling
be
me.
fair, I
So that's
listened to
hold
that
on,
show.
Jerry.
You only
Hold on,
had like
Jerry.
7
Hold
people
up,
in there.
Jerry. That tells me that 8 million fans who? That
You had
ain't
7
boxing
people
fans.
listening to that show. His
That ain't.
fans don't listen to
I
boxing
went to the. I
podcasts.
went to his IG page and said my intentions. They didn't come. So no, I miss me with that 8 million fans. Even Oscar De La Hoya say it doesn't translate into boxing. So in the end of the day, I feel I proved my point. I was prepared in case all 8 million came, or a few million, or thousands. It never happened. So
No, you only had 8 people listening to the whole show.
yeah, more than that, Jerry. I can pull it up right
That's
now.
what it said. 8 listening, 8 watching.
Well, I showed 17.
His Instagram fans, followers, they don't listen to boxing podcasts. They're not boxing fans.
That's my point.
Anyone can know that. Just like Jake
That's my
Paul's
point,
followers weren't boxing fans.
That
But
is
once
my
he
point,
started
Jerry.
boxing, they started watching.
Jerry.
It's a simple PR thing. The more
That's
people
my
know
point.
who you are, the better.
That's my point. Nobody can cap for me for Ryan Garcia. I think what he does a lot of times he do a disservice to himself, and it is despicable. And I'm tired of him bringing up
Seems
another
to be
man.
working pretty well for him.
Listen, you can say what you want. It's fucking ridiculous, in my opinion. It's unmanly like to be trying to live off the laurels of another man, and he need to let his nuts hang. How y'all men talk? Let his nuts hang and stop doing that shit. That shit is disgusting, and he does it all
you
the
don't like
time.
him. I don't think anything he does is going to make you like him. So
no, that's not true. Because I didn't dislike him. I don't like what he's doing. I have always said, I said, Ryan got pop in his hand. He can box. I critique him fairly. I don't like how he stands straight up with his chin up, because he don't all the time seem like he tuck it in. If you watch that fight with me, I watched the fight and people was watching. And remember, we talked about that, Jerry. I think you did.
Yeah.
I said he ain't tucking. And then somewhere in the fight, he started tucking. I think that's a bad move for him to hold his, head regular height. I ain't saying he stuck his chin out in the air, but I'm saying it's disgusting. Stop doing that shit. You might get some fans.
Flaws as a fighter, any fighter does. You can find flaws in any fighters, and that's one of his flaws.
Stop riding men nuts.
Slow, and his chin is hanging up there. He could pay for that. That could cost him big
and he will
in a fight against Tank Davis. I'd like to fight against Tank Davis. I think it'd be an exciting fight. I think Ryan can hang, but Ryan, just like anybody else, has to avoid getting knocked out.
Ryan has to stop riding other.
Knock him out.
All I'm saying is, Ryan, you could be a good fighter. Like Gary just said. Even Devin Haney says you're a good fighter. A lot of people don't say you're a bad fighter. You can be way more than what you are. Stop riding niggas nuts. That's my last word. I can't stand that shit. It's irritating, it's unbecoming, and it's not manly like. So I mean,
call out another fighter?
No, stop.
That's what we ask of a lot of fighters. Why don't you call out this guy?
You can spin this how you want. Ryan does
Devin
the same
Haney
thing.
calls out Tank Davis.
He does the same thing. He does the same thing. Every time he got a fight or about to fight, he talk like he just itching to get the Tank. Meanwhile, he makes another fight with somebody else. He talked about Tank as much as he talked about Javier Fortuna. Before that Tego dude, he talked about Tank more than just as much as he talked about the Tego dude.
Yeah,
he does this all the time. Every fighter don't do that. That's uniquely him. Get off the dude nuts and get it on your own. You can do it, Brian. You can. You have talent, but get off another man nuts.
Going to, but why not fight Tank? Why is Tank in a protection program that fighters can't call him out? Devin Haney's been calling him out, and Mayweather told Devin Haney, leave Tank alone. Leave Tank alone.
I think
and Haney's like, why should I leave him alone? He's a top fighter in the division, and you say he's the cash cow. Let's match him up.
Yeah, I think you hear what you want to hear. And never did I ever say, don't call out fighters or don't fight no fights. I said, look at how he's doing it. To me, he has no intention of fighting Tank. You just riding his nuts. You use it, just like Big Chop said, you're using his name to sell your fight and bring people to it. That's riding nuts. Get off that train. You don't have to do it. Get off the train. That's all I'm saying. If you gonna make the fight with Tank, make the motherfucking fight with Tank. We know already, Ryan, you want to fight Tank. Well, shut the fuck up and let's wait till the fucking fight happen, then bring Tank up again. Because we know already you want to fight him. That's no secret. If you don't fight him next, then talk about the fighter you fight next. But get off the man nuts. That's why the nigga can't take you seriously. That's why he said it. That's why Tank said, I can't. He's a liar. I'm with Tank on this. Dude, get off his nuts. You said you want to fight him. Tank heard you. Mayweather heard you. Oscar heard you. Everybody heard you. Mike Tyson heard you. And shut the hell up until that fight comes. If it ain't gonna come
Right.
and you come
He
back
can
up
shut the
and you
fuck
have
up,
another
and so
fight.
can Devin Haney. Devin can shut the fuck up about it too. Because every time I see Haney, he's talking about fighting Tank Davis.
When Devin gets a fight, and that's not the same. And you cannot conflate the two. When Devin do get a fight, he said, I'm concentrating on what's before me right now. There's a difference. I don't know why you like Ryan, but that's you. It's all good. You can like him.
It's not a like or dislike. I got no problems with fighters calling out top fighters. I don't got a problem when Devin Haney does it. And I don't have a problem when Ryan Garcia does it.
I got a problem.
If they're calling out the top paycheck fighter or riding his coattails a little bit, I really don't have a problem with that either, because everybody done that with Mayweather too. Mayweather was a big name, and anytime any of those fighters, Miguel Cotto, hell, Manny Pacquiao, anytime they ever got a chance to associate their name with Mayweather's name, they did so. That's the oldest promotional trick in boxing.
So Jared,
but I feel like Ryan does want to fight him. They say that they want the fight. Tank and them said that they want the fight. Oscar said we can make the fight. Floyd was just recently quoted saying they want the fight. They can make the fight. So I don't see the problem in talking about it.
So now we're going to get it done. Don't make no other fights, Ryan. Don't come with no other fights. Your next fight is Tank. You got your promoter and Tank's promoter saying, let's get it done. Don't come with no other fights. You might even win. You might even beat Tank. I got Tank in it, but you might even win. But okay, cool. It is different. It is different how he does it. He rode on Tank's nuts. And I hate it. He's different. If he was like everybody else, I wouldn't have said nothing. And look, as talented as the boy is, I don't think he's that serious about boxing. Now, I could live with that. Now, there's certain things he fucking do that make me hate that shit. And as I said, I did go outside of myself, and I tried to bait his fans in. They did exactly what I thought they was gonna do. Nowhere to be found.
They didn't pay attention to a boxing podcast because they don't follow boxing.
Listen, Beyonce fans, don't let that get in the way of them. If I said something about her, the Beehive would be converging on me so goddamn hard. So do Nicki Minaj. So do anybody who likes their celebrity.
Those gonna be people converging are far more popular than Ryan Garcia is.
It don't matter. It's his fans. I went in his IG and I told him my intentions. I talked about them. So I'm just telling you, I don't believe he got them fans like that.
I'm just telling you, the more people that know you, the better off you are. Whether you're a boxer or a movie star, or no matter what you do, if you do it in the public eye, the more names that know. I don't know why it's hard for you to understand. It doesn't mean that you're a great fighter, because he hasn't accomplished things in boxing that suggest he's a great fighter. It doesn't mean that it's automatically going to equate to big money sales with pay-per-views. I won't even say that, but it makes the likelihood better. The more people that know you, this is why actresses and actors hire publicists, right? That's why they hire them, so they can get a broader audience. And there's nothing hurtful about that. Ryan Garcia doesn't have 2 or 3 paper titles to point to and say, well, this is my pedigree. No, he doesn't have that. His angle is that. Mostly that and his marketing appeal. Okay, so he has that. But then add to the fact, you said he got $2 million for that last fight. $2 million in today's market is not a lot of money. This is just not a lot of money. It doesn't say I'm a superstar just because he's getting $2 million. I mean, you might think that's more than what he should have got, but goddamn, how much you think they're going to pay him?
I'm looking at it like this: when you say words like there's only 350,000 core boxing fans, so they follow boxing no matter who put the show on. But and again, I don't say he don't deserve it. Get what you get, right? Get all the money, get it all up, take it all. They give you 15, take it. I ain't against shit like that. But I do think it's weird that somehow or another they can assess his value at 2 million. He didn't even sell out the Staples Center or the crypto arena. I'm not gonna go back and forth like too in depth. I don't like how he moves. He rides on other men's laurels, and he doing it for clout. He doing it to bring people or cap or however they say it. He's doing it to bring people to his show, but he had no intention. That's what it comes off to me. It would be one thing if you fully intended to fight Tank, but at this point, I done seen you did it 3 times. I'm over it. You ain't got no intentions of fighting him. All that song and
but that's
dance he
opinion,
did at
though.
Mike
Let's be
Tyson.
fair. That's your opinion. You don't think that he has intentions.
And I'm allowed my opinion, Jerry. You
Yes,
ain't gonna
you certainly
change
are,
me.
but it's still just opinion. That doesn't mean that
It's a
he
fact.
doesn't want to
I'm
fight
basing it
Tank
what I
Davis.
see.
Me personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he got the Tank Davis fight, made a lot of money, and then walked away from boxing because like
He already
you,
said he's gonna retire at 26. I think he'll be 24
that's what
this
I'm saying.
year.
Like you, I don't think Ryan is necessarily as much in love with boxing as he is money and fame and other avenues. So it wouldn't surprise me if he wanted the Tank Davis fight simply because he wanted to make $8 to $10 million perhaps, and then maybe walk away from boxing.
And that could be it,
surprised.
Jared. But you got to understand, I am passionate about the sport. Like people who are passionate about football and all that stuff, I'm passionate about the sport. So he pisses me off. It ain't nothing personal. He is a good looking kid.
Personal.
He do know how to box. He do know that social media. I give him that. He actually can box, you guys. He actually got pop in his hands. He do got skills. I don't think he that passionate about boxing. I don't think he take it seriously. And this is a sport that I take seriously. And I do think he ride niggas nuts. And I don't like it. You don't have to. But that's the end of the show, Jerry. I can't, me and you can't go back and forth. But I'll see you another time, Jerry. Thank you for coming in. With love and all that. Me and Jerry will always find something to disagree, but sometimes on the rare occasions we will have overlap, huh, Jerry?
That's right.
All right, love you, Jerry.
Have a good night. Good show. A good show tonight.
Thank you, Taco Saul, who came in with the info from the Silicon Valley. Thank you, Extraordinary O, for coming through, and everybody in the chat. Thank you. Until tomorrow. Again, this was just a recap. I had to come in and say where I was wrong, so there was a correction, and I had to be clear because going forward, you guys gonna hear me say certain things, but this is where my mindset comes. That's why I use the Canelo and Plant fight to break down the numbers to show y'all why I said, oh, they broke even. That's why I said it. Jerry pointed out other mitigating factors, and I conceded even before he said that. Like, hey, endorsements and all the stuff they don't show us. I don't know that the behind the curtain shit. I'm just telling you what they show me and the rest of the world. I'm not privy to nothing no more than you guys are. And then I try to offer like, not that you gotta listen to me, Bud or Earl, but I was like, the compromise could be in y'all guaranteed purses that y'all have had before. Add them together, take an average, and give each one of them that guarantee. Give Earl the bigger favor in the percentage of the pay-per-view. The split. Don't make it ridiculous, but 55-45 is what I heard for a long time that they was agreeing, but 60-40 is cool. In the end of the day, they both gonna get a bigger paycheck than they ever did. PBC can make a lot of money. I personally believe that this fight would blow past 500,000. He said that 500,000 is a good marker for everybody else. That should be good enough. Even if it's just that, I think it would be more than that. I really think it'd be more. I think this fight could make 100 million, but that's neither here nor there. But if it blow past 500K pay-per-view buys, I think that's good. But wherever they have the fight, it's gonna sell out. So just y'all keep that in mind. Please don't let the fans wait. Please don't let that blow pass because we really do want to see the fight. But I'm getting to the point like I'm not. I'm just I'm making my peace with it that it's probably not going to happen, and it's not like an overly bad thing or whatever. My interests are waning. I'm getting rid of cable. Like I said, I used to keep cable just so I can catch all the boxing. I don't want cable no more. It's gone. So, and I know it's a surprise to my cable company because I've been with them over a decade faithfully. There ain't no point in me keeping it. I'm not gonna see the boxing matches that I want to see. So, that's why I keep paying for it. I don't look at shit anyway. But anyway, when you know better, you do better. So, thank you guys for joining me. Until tomorrow, peace.